Welcome to Armchair Expert. I'm Dan Shepard, and I'm joined by Monster Padman.
How does it feel?
That didn't take long at all.
I like it.
It could be better. I'm gonna think of something a
it?
little more playful or inventive.
Okay.
Just putting Monster Padman. I could be.
That's okay. It was a great start.
Okay, we'll just start there. I imagine many folks who listen, many armchairs will go, well, you've given us the entire Russell Hawn family.
That's right.
Where's Goldie?
Where's the matriarch?
Where's the matriarch who started it all? Mm-hmm. Who's the first one in? Goldie.
Here she is.
Here she is. Now, spoiler for this episode. What we had thought was that we had cleaned up nice and tidy the whole family. Just to remind everyone.
I don't want to spoil this. This is so funny.
Okay. Well, I'll just say that we had Kate and Oliver.
Kurt and Wyatt.
Now Goldie, and we thought, great, we've gotten the whole family, and we haven't.
Yeah.
So there's going to be another interview, and it's going to be challenging. It's going to be a very challenging one. Of course, Goldie Hawn. I don't need to tell you about her. She's an actor, a producer, Overboard, Death Becomes Her, The First Wives Club, The Christmas Chronicles, which she does with her sweet husband, Bird on a Wire, so many things. And she has an incredible education foundation and a program called Mind Up that she has gotten into. Tons of schools, tons of students have benefited from this. It's a very, very cool emotional asset.
Definitely. But uses like neuroscience to connect your emotions. It's really, really great.
It is. And she kind of blew my mind how much she knew about all that stuff. It was very impressive.
Very.
It was all around just a great time.
It was.
We saved the best for last, I guess.
Legend.
Please enjoy Goldie Hawn.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
What would you like to drink? Do you want a coffee?
A water.
Great, there's that.
And you have a heating thing? You have a tea?
Yes!
We have
Monica's a big tea drinker.
Oh, good. Okay, so I'll have a tea.
Okay, great. What
You
flavor
have
do you
one of these
desire?
Barker Lounger crazy chairs?
Yeah,
I wouldn't
that we
own
do.
one if my life depended on it, but they're so comfortable.
I know.
And there's this rock. Oh, my God.
Oh, you know what? Stay here. I'm going to go get the 5-gallon jug out of the...
What? We have to do this now?
Don't even
have
worry.
to
Don't even
bring
worry. 1
in-
second.
I don't
From
need
the
it.
well.
I can do water.
No. It's really falling apart over here. It's a disaster.
Oh, my God.
I was just in Aspen. I just got back yesterday. It was my first time there.
Oh, really?
Yes, I loved it.
Didn't you?
Yes, it's so charming.
It's very charming. Everything has stayed for the most part. You know, they've got very strict rules, so it stays that world. When we first moved there, I was in heaven because every other store was a knitting store.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, it was so provincial. And then suddenly you had Gucci coming in, and then it got very high level.
I
And
was wondering that, like, what was the draw for all these fancy people? Just because it was like a quaint ski
skiing,
town.
quaint. They put in Regency, they put in the Ritz, they put some really nice hotels there.
Yeah.
And it's extremely charming, but it goes in cycles. Used to be the cocaine group.
Oh.
Tons of cocaine. Cocaine was everywhere.
Oh, wow.
That was Kurt's era. I wasn't there for that. I wasn't
You
there for
missed it.
the guns and all that stuff in the bar. His stories.
Oh, what a time that was, I'm sure.
It was great. I'll never forget. You know, we were just together, really. We happened fast. We got a piece of land there. Anything by a river is in a valley. And I looked down there and it was really beautiful. And then I came back. I thought, you know, we're in Colorado. We should have an open view.
Yeah.
Right?
Experimenting, what were you in the
That's
market for?
good.
That sounds good?
Yeah. Then I came out and I said, you know what? We can't buy this. And so now he goes hunting. And he goes in and oversees this beautiful area where we are now. And the guy said to him, oh, that's for sale.
Of course.
So we put snowshoes on and went down through that whole place. There wasn't one tree on it.
Wow.
And I bought half and he bought half. I have my side of the fence and he has
That
his
sounds
side.
ideal.
I have found all these flavors. We've got organic chamomile. We've got Earl Grey. We have spearmint. We have...
You know, chamomile's really good for you. Let's do that.
Let's go with chamomile.
Let's be healthy.
I read a whole thing about chamomile and I'm thinking, why aren't I drinking more chamomile tea? Sweetheart, you're making my tea.
Of course, you're my guest.
I know. But
I didn't even
really.
know we had all these teas, so it was, you've educated me on our reserves. Okay, what do I want after
No,
all?
boy.
Okay, no.
What do I want? This
And
is
that's
so
time.
good.
This is very exciting.
It is. It is. Because you were the last remaining member, Goldie.
That's right.
I know.
Well, Boston, I suppose.
Well, I'm the last remaining one, but I was the first one.
First in and last
Sometimes
out.
the first and the last.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing to be the first, and not a bad thing to be the last.
That's right.
I started a text chain today with Oliver, Kate, Wyatt, and Kurt. And I said, why is it your mom's the only one brave enough to come here by herself?
I know. I love that.
And Kurt said, she's going there today?
I mean, seriously. I know I'm fearless. I do everything alone. I love to be alone. The only thing is, I used to be able to go and have wine, and back in the day when people were smoking, then I used to people watch, and I'd write in my diary. Nobody knew me because I was still learning about me. And it was the best. And I remember I talked to another person. I don't want to talk about that person because they're well known. But when they became well known,
Morgan Freeman, I'll say it for you.
go to Morgan, you know. He said the thing when he became successful that he missed the most was driving across the country and seeing and meeting people and being in cafes and literally being anonymous. So aloneness ain't so bad.
Yeah, you're right. You go from an observer to being observed.
Exactly. And that aloneness, your mind becomes alive. And, you know, I used to write a lot when I'd go into like Alice's restaurant in Malibu. Then all of a sudden VHSs came out. But I used to go to Europe. I wasn't recognized because people didn't really know me that well.
Not after like Shampoo.
No. What happened was when the VHS
This is after
came-
Laughing, but before.
Exactly, before Private Benjamin. So that made it easy for me. I'd go into Italy and sit down in the cafe, you know, and I'd pretend I was Deleuze, who was one of my favorite best friends. And the same in France. So I'm not complaining.
Right.
No.
Of course. I think it's fair to say everything's a two-sided coin. So there's like a ton of benefits. And then you pay a little price and you lose some stuff. And it's all right to mourn what you lost or be nostalgic for it. I
Yeah.
don't think it makes you ungrateful.
It just makes me miss it. But I'm not ungrateful. The only thing now is that I have to lock myself in my sauna to get some peace.
Are you into a sauna? Because I do it every single night. How often are you doing it?
I do it 3 times a week.
20 minutes?
Or half hour.
Wow.
Well, I have an infrared sauna. Both of them are very, very good for you. The most important thing with this one, you can stay in longer and I sweat faster. So it goes more sort of cellular just because of the frequency there, because it's infrared. And I love that. But my refuge for years, I built saunas in all the houses I've built. And, you know, we talked about that earlier, how I built so many houses.
Yeah, you were here for 36 seconds and you were like, okay, that thing's okay. That's nice. You should do the trim black though to tie in this. I would have moved that over here.
I was trying to balance out that. But I had to say it.
It's hillbilly madness over here.
Yeah.
Would you expect anything less?
No, I mean, really.
Okay, but you always put saunas in the places you built.
I do it for peace. One time I was dating a Swede, and he was really a good guy, but he made me crazy. He said, Goldie, you're just tired. And I said, I'm just tired. I'm just tired of us. I mean, I'm sorry, but you play the same number on the piano over and over and over and over. And you laugh at the Flintstones. This isn't working for me. Anyway,
I need to get out of here.
but I really seriously would go to the sauna. It was quiet. It was warm. It was completely alone.
And did he pronounce it sauna? Because we say sauna, but I had a girlfriend whose father was Finnish, and he said it's a sauna. We invented it. It's sauna.
A sauna?
A sauna.
Well, SAU could
Sure.
be sauna.
Why not?
But the thing is, the Swedes are different than we are. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
So let me tell you about a sauna I went into.
Oh, tell me.
So my Swedish boyfriend.
I need like an era. What year is
Oh,
this?
this is the 70s.
Oh, swinging 70s.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Keep your options
So
open.
it's a great time to be alive. I tell you. It was like, that was so fun. Wow. Hand slap, leave you, take care, love you. No relationship.
That's
Fabulous
nice.
experience.
Sure.
That's the 70s. But in the meantime, I did have a boyfriend. So west coast of Sweden, started from Norway. He said, now you know where we're going to go, Goldie. And I said, where? He said, to Ingrid Bergman's house.
Ooh.
And I said, what? He said, yes, because La Clarche, I didn't know if they were still married or not, is in the house, and he's invited us there. So they live on a little island called Hart Island.
But really quick, you've already worked with Ingrid Bergman.
I'd worked with
at
Ingrid.
that. Yeah, your
I'd
first
worked with
movie.
Ingrid. She could have been gone at that point. I'd have to look that up. What I did notice there is when I went into the house, I saw a lot of her. I saw the chest that Metro Goldwyn Mayer gave her.
Oh,
Yeah.
MGM for people who
Her name
For
was
the
inscribed
layperson.
in it. It was so beautiful. Then he had his girlfriend there. Sometimes Swedish people have girlfriends.
That's not what makes them unique, obviously.
Yeah, right. And that's not what makes his story work. So I'm going to go further.
But I like that part.
Deeper dive and say that I was in a real sauna. So I went into Ingrid and Lars's sauna. And when I say the island was little, it was like a rock. And you put wood in it. So it's a real fire.
Yes, there's wood burning
There's wood
under
burning. And then you jump in the sea.
the plunge.
And it was amazing. Cold plunge. That was the
original cold plunge.
West Coast. What sea is that? The North Sea or something?
Where the North Sea meets the
Yeah.
You become a...
And then we went over to another place on the
Wait,
island.
really quick, I have a follow-up question. Because this is what we do on the weekends with friends of ours. So we have a cold plunge and a sauna. We're very spoiled. So do our friends. They're very spoiled. So what we do is we do 20 minutes in the sauna, then 3-minute cold plunge, then back in the sauna 20 minutes, then 3-minute cold plunge, then back 3 cycles. And I'm telling you, you're so fucking stoned by the second one. But all natural. You come back into the sauna and we have a game we play where you got to add up numbers. No one can do it.
Honey, you have that and friends.
Yes.
It's amazing.
I know.
I mean,
I feel very
honestly,
lucky.
when you talk about friends, Kurt just loves the family. But getting back to the plunge parties that you're doing,
Yes. They're kind of kinky, right? They're not quite 70s, but they're borderline
you
kinky.
know what? Few screams in there, but that's not because anybody's having a bad night.
Right.
But honestly, it's the best thing you can do for yourself. The cold plunge and all of that going back and forth. Take a cold shower. Your body responds to that. It wakes up.
You get
Your
elevated
cells wake
dopamine
up.
for hours after.
And dopamine is an awesome neurotransmitter.
That's
by
what
the way.
we're all chasing. All the other drugs you like,
Yes.
that's what they're giving you. But then it's a very diminished return.
Exactly. But you know what else can create dopamine?
Tell me.
Friendship and dancing and movement. We want to raise our dopamine. So we do dopamine dances.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
So I think understanding your own brain is pretty great. And then you don't have to get high.
Yes, I agree. Okay, so dancing, wonderful. Let's go back to Washington, D.C. Mom is a dance instructor.
My mother was a businesswoman. Her best friend was a dance teacher. And so my mother arranged the whole business and she ran the dancing school. And I was 3 years old. That was my first dancing lesson.
And you immediately fell in love with it.
I loved to dance, but I didn't know anything but dance.
Really quick, when I read D.C., we're really talking maybe Maryland?
I lived in Maryland. I was born in Washington, D.C. I lived on a dead-end street, very modest, duplex house for 19 years until I went to New York.
What city in Maryland?
Tacoma Park.
Do you know where Gaithersburg is?
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend in high school that lived in Gaithersburg, but I went and visited her there. And she took me to my favorite state park I've ever been to in my life, Great Falls on the Potomac. Did you ever go to that state park when you were a kid?
Maryland's a beautiful state. The only thing I don't like about the East Coast, now that I was able to go west when I was 19 is when I went to LA and I saw the deserts and I saw things, I was in awe. That feeling of awe made me write in my diary, how could anyone doubt the existence of God when you're looking out the window of this airplane and seeing this landscape and this beauty and the light and the color. And I was so moved. But I didn't go back home to live again. And one of the reasons was all the mountains looked like bald heads. It was old. It didn't have a feeling of newness. And then when I would see the Rockies and how beautiful they were and pointy.
They looked like they were still growing.
Everything was growing, and I just felt like that, the difference between the East and the West. But living where I lived on a dead-end street was the best thing ever because we were safe. The kids could run around and do everything you wanted to do, and one of them took my mother's dressmaker that looked like a naked person, and we walked it around the neighborhood and called it Mrs. Tookie. And we were so excited, and we'd make forts down in the woods, and we were left alone to create and do all that stuff.
Was it your mom who Wyatt
Played the violin. Who did Wyatt play the violin
Oh, my
for?
father. So he never knew my dad. My dad played for all the president's
I was going to say he
parties.
played for JFK and
Yeah.
he played for FDR?
Yeah. He was one of the band guys. They always chose him within this one company. And he worked for all these things. King Saud, he did the embassy. I mean, crazy stuff.
And was he playing all the time at home?
Daddy sees his own podcast. Okay. I can channel him. But he was the first violinist, and then he became a horn. So he taught himself how to
Clarinet?
play clarinet and saxophone. But he had a watch shop by day. So in Silver Spring, Maryland, he was sort of a icon. Hawn's watch shop, and was right next to the Tasty Diner.
You're saying watch shop? He ran
Watch.
a... Yeah, he sold
repaired
watch and
watches.
repaired
He
watch.
repaired them.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I ever saw him after school without one of those eyepieces on.
Yeah.
You know, is looking at all the tiny little pieces.
A loop, do they call it sometimes?
A loop, exactly.
Yeah. So I feel like, and I just learned this about Wyatt. Do you have your water? You got your tea.
I'm going to go for my tea right now.
Let's start
because
hot and we'll end
it's
cold.
it's
This
like-
will be like the sauna. So we'll go hot and then we'll go cold.
Chamomile.
hot, cold.
But now that I know your dad could fix watches and was intricate like that, and to hear how much Wyatt is enjoying building
Oh my
violins,
God.
like, are those two so weirdly
so
similar?
weird. I swear to God, it's got to be in his DNA. Here's what he did when he was 4, and he never knew my father. He said, "Mommy, I want to play the violin like Grandpa."
At 4.
He was 4.
And he hadn't met
And I
him.
thought, where did that come from? I mean, it actually made me weep because I have all Daddy's violins. I put them in saddle boxes and they're artwork for me. But Wyatt at 4? So I put him to Suzuki. He studied for a while violin and he really loved it. And then he didn't. Later on, he picked up the guitar. So he's a string guy. But then he started picking up the violin again. It was calling to him.
Yeah.
So he found this violin maker. And for Chris Robinson, and he was about 16, 17, he made the most gorgeous guitar with inlays of pearl, and Chris treasures it. But Wyatt is like that.
When I met Wyatt, I could see that he had had such an affinity for Chris. Like, what a cool presence Chris had been in his
Yes,
life
that's
that maybe
right.
even turned him on to guitar and music. And you could just see he was
Right.
very instrumental in maybe his identity and who he wanted to be.
Exactly. I'll tell you something about
sweet.
Wyatt. Really interesting story. Well, I find it interesting. I don't know if Kurt would find it interesting. But
He already had his turn.
Yeah, exactly. He was already here.
Goldie's getting the last word, so go ahead.
I'm getting the last word because I'm the last one, but I'm the first one. Anyway, he had to write something in school, Wyatt, and he wrote, "What does mom do?" And he had to draw a picture, and "What does dad do?" He had me going to the office every day, which was true. I produced funny movies. I had a job, right?
Right.
Kurt was an airplane flyer. That's what he did.
A pilot?
I went, oh, yeah, the life of Riley. Anyway, so that was that.
I think our kids just think we are unemployed. We're just always
Oh,
home.
no, exactly. So anyway, he never wanted to be an actor. He was individuated. He was a hockey player. That's why we moved up to Vancouver. So he took great pride in his identity of being that. So the school assignment was, who is your hero? He could have chosen any one of the hockey goaltenders. He chose the Dalai Lama.
Oh, wow.
Weirdly, I'm not shocked, but that's crazy
He
for
has
a young.
a Zen attitude.
He was 11. The reason why he chose him, oh God, I almost cry when I think about it because it's just so compassionate. He said, because right now he's suffering and people are suffering from the Chinese and he's forgiving them.
Right, this would have been at the height of the Free Tibet movement.
This
So
was
he was
it
very
was all
aware
them.
of that.
That's what he chose
That's what was on his mind.
because he had forgiveness.
That's so cool.
And that was his hero. Now, I don't know, man, but that's who he is.
Right.
Ultimately, the kids show you who they are.
So I have 2 little girls now, and isn't it just astounding how much they are genetically who they are? They
Yes.
come out, you might be able to steer them 5 degrees in this direction or that, but man, they are who they are.
Exactly.
The quicker you can get out of the way and just get excited with them of figuring out who this person is.
Exactly. But it's true. I mean, they're all their own person. When I was pregnant, I was just a carrier. And I really loved it. I love being a girl. I love having babies. I love the fact that we get to have those babies and they get to grow inside of us. And it's such a miracle to this day. But I never felt that I owned them. I never felt that they were just all mine. I really felt they were little people coming to the world through me and that I was their vessel. And that's where they grew. But it didn't mean they were going to be like me. I can't divine who they're going to be. We're just basically the rudder and making sure that they stay online, kind, graceful.
Avoid the rocks.
Well, some rocks they need.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
They need the class 3 rapids, maybe not the class 5.
Some non-fatal.
Yes, no fucking waterfalls, maybe.
Exactly. And Kurt was better at that than me. You know, I just want to save everybody. It was like, oh, don't worry, I'm right behind you. I've got you. When in fact, you know what? You'll figure this out.
We're going to get to that because I think you two have a very fascinating and wonderful yin and yang that I too happen to find myself in.
I'm so happy.
I think opposites is a really good way to go, but
I love
you're
it.
marked that.
Okay.
Were you more of a mom girl or a dad girl? or neither, would you say?
That's a really good question.
I have a guess.
Okay, tell me.
I think you were a daddy's girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. You still call him daddy, which is
So sweet.
very sweet indicator that you're a daddy's girl.
Yeah. Well, he's always my daddy.
I heard Gwyneth Paltrow be interviewed by Howard Stern, and she said something that made me cry in my car, which is she was talking about her father, and she said, well, everyone has a dad, and if you're really lucky, you have a daddy.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, I hope my girls always call me
true.
daddy.
It's true.
Yeah.
And so much for a girl. I was on a show once in London, and it was one of the big talk shows. And he had just had 2 twins, and they were girls. And I said to him, first of all, congratulations. Secondly, you're the first person they're going to fall in love with. You better watch yourself, because they will want that, because you are that love in their life. That's the first love we have in our life. I was madly, when I was little, in love with my father. Now, the other side of it is that Daddy and I were best friends. He was a musician. The last thing he said to me before he died, he said, when are you going to direct, Goldie? He was
How
an
old
advocate.
were you when he died?
30-something.
You had won an Oscar.
Yeah, I was around 35, 36, and he called me and he said, I want you to remember this. What you have done in your 36 years is what most people get in a lifetime. He said, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, man.
And that meant the world to me.
Oh, my God, yeah.
There's a lot of awards you get, and they're wonderful, but these are memories. These are things that shape you. And my mother, she was a driver. She made sure I went to dancing school. I said, I'm not going. She said, yes, you are.
The fuck you're not.
She was the one that had the
She was running the
mallet.
show. Well, and she married an artist, so someone had to be the
Yes.
non-artist. I don't even know how you guys have made a housework with 2 fucking artists. in
I
it.
don't either, but Kurt really, he has a mentality. He's amazing. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
He's got an amazing brain.
Wait, I want to say real quick, the irony of us saying that your kids are your own people, which they are, but Kate is so similar to you. Even during
freaky.
this 20 minutes we've been here, it's like hard. You're so similar.
Yeah, if there were any one of your children, I think it'd be hardest for you to not think is yours. It's her.
Oh my gosh.
And I have to tell you the journey I took dating
Even
Kate.
your voice,
Oh,
like
well, I
the
don't
voice
wanna
is the same.
Well, I took the journey of dating Kate, and then I saw Shampoo.
Oh, right.
And I was like, oh my God, I was dating Goldie.
No, it's really funny.
I mean, that is fucking uncanny. You and Shampoo, that might be the sparkliest I've ever seen someone in a movie. Oh my
Really?
God. Nobody could watch Shampoo and not just be tragically in love with you. You're the most sparkly, fun, ethereal fucking creature that's somehow tap dancing on planet Earth.
That's amazing to hear.
And then you watch Almost Famous, and I'm like, oh, here she is again.
Yeah.
She time traveled. She did Shampoo, then she zipped ahead to the late 90s and did that movie, then zipped back. It's freaky. And then, obviously, I went and stayed with you guys in Canada, and then I met the real you. And I'm like, holy smokes, I hope I don't get confused.
No, that's so funny. Well, we have a lot of things that are alike. There's no doubt about it. Now, that is DNA.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's
Yeah,
an
yeah.
essence.
That's something you can't help. It's an interesting thing to know your differences. I know our similarities, but what separates us are our differences. And it's important. And one of the things when she was little, and she was still in elementary school, something happened in school. I said to her, honey, I'm going to tell you something. You are so talented. You are much better in school than I ever was. You are an incredible runner. You run faster than anybody in LA. You're a beautiful dancer. I want you to realize that I wasn't that good. And I want you to know all the things that you do well. And it isn't just what I do.
Right. You're not in my shadow. You're in
Right,
your
you're
own
in your
lane.
own. Now, does it work? Does it not work?
Yeah.
You try the best you can.
Let me ask you this. So we have 2 daughters. One is very, very similar to me. One is very, very similar to Kristen. And we figured out some years ago, I'm not to discipline the one like me, and she's not to discipline the one like her. I have a lot of practice dealing with her. She has a lot of practice dealing with me. I find it hardest, and it saddens me the most that the one that's like me, I feel like I most could potentially help because I've been navigating this personality for so long, but I have the hardest time. We trigger each other the easiest. And same with Kristen and our daughter that's like her. And I wonder if you and Kate being so similar, if you had that dynamic ever, where it's like the things you see in her, the things you see in yourself.
This is complicated because when you have, let's just say a little girl, and that little girl is identifying with her mother for the most part, and she wants to trump her mother. That's normal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to be better than my mom.
For sure. So she'll approve of me and love me.
Exactly, or the world will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of perspectives around that. And to be aware of it, I know that if I made cupcakes as a mother and my little girl, maybe her name's not Kate, maybe it's another little girl,
Yeah,
whoever.
Becky.
What's her name?
Becky. For,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could go anywhere, Trixie.
yeah. Trixie Hawn is making some.
Trixie.
Here she comes.
But you know that you have to be aware that what you would call competition is normal. So I remember when she was doing great at 200 cigarettes. I mean, come on, her talent's insane. And people were saying to me, do you feel competitive with your daughter? And I was still working, doing a bunch of stuff. I thought, how dare you? That's a bad question.
Yeah. I find that offensive.
It was really offensive.
I want my kids to shine brighter than
Of
me.
course.
Yeah.
And the perception is that there's a competition.
There is a generic trope of an actress who covets her youth. And so, of course, your daughter must be inflaming your desire to be young again.
That's the old myth of Persephone and what's it?
Oh, like a Greek?
Oh, no, it's an old myth. Anyway, it's where they created summer and spring because Persephone was the mother and Daphne, I'm making it up now, sorry, but
Becky.
was
Trixie.
this daughter.
Trixie.
Trixie. Yeah. And she was the...
Persephone's daughter, Trixie.
I forgot her name. So anyway, so now what happens is in this lore is that how summer was created is that it was winter all the time. Persephone decided her daughter at the age of when you get your period, at that point, of course, it's early now, but around 12 years old, she went down to see Hades. She went down below. And now her mother was devastated that she lost her daughter. Devastated that she was going into this world of female and all this sex, and she was no longer a little girl. She was no longer the one who carried her in her arms. And there's a weakness to that, and that's where the idea that your daughter is stealing your age. Your daughter is stealing this from you. She made a deal with Hades and said, I will create spring and summer if you please let me have my daughter back again.
Oh, wow.
It's a beautiful story, and it's very true, because if mothers don't have their world, their ideas of things, the joy of living, I don't care if they're playing tennis or golf with people or whatever that might be as they grow older, they don't have anything to hang on, which is interesting. A happier life, an ability to move transferently what you had with your daughter onto others, because your daughter's going to disappear at periods. So I think that's an interesting analogy of saying, if you were doing anything, your daughter's going to want to be you. And she goes into your closet. And she steals your shoes.
Yeah.
And guess what else she steals? Your car when you're not there. And I've been through it.
Yeah.
And of course, Katie and I are very, very, very close.
There's no question.
And I also respect
wondered
her privacy.
Absolutely.
Respect. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Got to respect our kids.
No, you guys are in a similar tricky situation that I too am in. If I want to talk about my wife, you know who my wife is. If I want to talk about my sex life, well, we know who that's with, right? So I understand. And it's interesting because 4 or 5 of you are all known. So you can't even say my son or my husband.
Did you hear about our dog?
No. Is your dog in movies now?
Oh, no. This is crazy. Our dog got the Budweiser commercial.
No, is this no way?
Joking.
No way.
Wait. What's the dog's name?
Roy.
Roy Russell?
Yes.
Oh my God, the dog's on TV?
Yeah, and he's
Does he
the
get
most
good residuals?
He is so gorgeous. He's a gorgeous white, yellow Labrador retriever. Roy.
What a family.
Wait, how did Roy end up in a Budweiser commercial?
Because the woman that actually trained him has a relationship with people who say,
Sure.
do we have a dog? She also does that.
Yeah.
She
Well, I got
trained
this
it.
dog from a lot of pedigree. Multiple Academy Award nominations, some wins. Would you like Roy?
You should see the CV of this dog. He's already had 3 jobs.
Oh my God. Okay, right. So if you talk about your dog
Yeah.
and you want to tell an embarrassing story about him, like you caught him licking himself.
Yeah.
Now you can't because
No, good point.
Yes.
Good point.
And he probably has a representative and you'll hear about it.
Kurt said he gets first billing. I just want you to know. And by the way, where's the money?
Yes. Where's the residuals?
He was so funny. He doesn't get residuals. That's what you don't get. But Kurt is like a stage mother.
And when you guys see the commercial, are you even more excited than you are when you see like Wyatt in a movie?
yeah.
I feel like I'd
Come
be even
on.
more pumped about my dog
Exactly.
being inside.
I mean, they've got all the horses, and the whatever
Wait,
they
is he in
are.
the fucking
Clydesdale?
Clydesdale commercial?
Clydesdale, yeah.
Oh my God, he's in like a legendary commercial.
I know. He was the puppy. Back then, there was a little puppy.
Wait, he's not the puppy from the barn that goes after the whole. Don't even say that.
Yes.
Goldie, this is the most memorable dog performance in a commercial way.
Exactly.
Wait,
You know what I'm talking about? It was a Super Bowl commercial.
Oh.
This little puppy grows up with this Clydesdale. Then the Clydesdale gets out, and then the puppy's now grown up into a golden retriever. Is
I know.
it?
Okay,
and then
hold on.
busts out of the farm.
It's a lab.
A lab. And
Is
then
it
busts
Lost
out-
Dog Super Bowl commercial?
Yes.
Hold on. Is
Goldie,
this him?
Yep.
Oh.
Not only is he in a commercial,
Oh my God,
in
he's
the
so
big-
good. He just popped up really. He did a really good job.
He's so good. So this is the other
Oh my
story.
God.
I mean, really.
That's hilarious.
Who else wants to be my child?
Well, now there's
Someone that
grandkids.
just
Come
moved to
on
LA
down.
is like dying to get adopted by you. I'm sure there's applicants.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I love the one thing you said about your dad because I have also said this on here and it weirdly feels dicey now, but I don't know. I stick to it. My point with dads is your daughter's going to marry you. So who do you want her to marry? Now's the time to be the very fucking best version of yourself because this is who she's going to try to go out and get.
That's 100% right.
And I can't tell you how much it's curbed my own existence where it's like, no, I got to be the person that I hope she ends up with.
You've become more mindful. And that's what we all need to become because there's an important issue at hand. And therefore you stay focused on it because if you are unmindful with your children, you'll see.
Yeah.
It'll come back to you.
The bill comes due.
It really does. So they're the spoils of our bad behavior. Are we laughing at that?
I like that. They're the spoils of our bad behavior.
I know. Should we write it down?
Yeah. There also could be the result of a weird sauna weekend in the west coast
It
of
could be.
Sweden.
You know, breaking that down. That could be really tough, especially when I'm freezing.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
So this is a compliment I'm going to give you, and it will expose something about them. It'll violate their privacy, but I think it's in an acceptable way.
Okay.
So you two modeled for Oliver and for Wyatt. And Aaron is like an impossible angel on planet Earth.
I know.
Oliver's wife is incredible. They're still together, right?
Unbelievable.
Okay. You looked at me and I got scared that they
No,
weren't
I'm
together.
so with you.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm
So
meeting your
Aaron-
eyes.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
looking at you,
great.
and my eyes are like penetrating your eyes.
I love it. It's
Maybe I
tickling me
didn't
all
look
over.
right.
And the spoils of which will be not a child, but maybe an interview. And then Wyatt's wife, who I've not yet hung out with, but I know so many people that know her and they're like, oh, she's the greatest person alive. So I hope that you feel the compliment of that. Can you internalize that? I told this to my brother. My brother's made errors. He's done things he's regretted as a parent, but he has 3 daughters and all of them are with boys that are madly in love with them. And I said, David, that's you. You are madly in love with your daughters and that's what they expect and they will take nothing less.
Exactly. Oh my God.
That's the gift you can give your boys.
I remember Oliver when he was young, but he was in puberty. And he would come up and kiss me. He was just 14 or something. And he had his girlfriend. And he'd sit on my lap. He was such a love bucket. And he wasn't afraid of showing his girlfriend. And then he'd hold us both together. And we're very close. But that was amazing to see his freedom that way. And when I look at the girls, I said, I think there's one picture of us where we're all behind. It's like 4 blondes.
Yeah. Yes. It's pretty.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
They're awesome women. They're great people. I've said, I don't know how I got so lucky to be able to have these as my daughters. These aren't just daughters-in-law. They're my daughters.
You all lived next to each other.
We're family. And Wyatt really didn't want to be down in the valley. He wanted to be closer to where he lived. And sure enough, he's on the house he was born on. So, I mean, he came home again.
That's so sweet.
So now we're all together. It's amazing.
That's got to be your greatest accomplishment. I was just reading about, well, I saw why. He was just here. I know Kate has the house she lived in when she was a kid.
She's in the house I bought when I was 6 months pregnant with her.
Right. And I read some interview with you today, and it was talking about how you guys will ride bikes to each other's house. And I thought, well, that's it right there for me. The notion that I would be lucky enough to grow older and have my children in bike riding distance from me.
And want to ride over. That's
Yes.
a huge
No, I know, and
accomplishment.
want to.
Yes, very lucky.
It's the greatest. I mean, we used to take boat trips together, and the kids were smaller then, but they were all past puberty. They didn't want anybody else on the boat. Can we just do just us?
Yeah.
And that's really, really great. And that's part of Kurt, too. He's just a blast.
Now, I do want to walk through some touchstones. I can't believe that your first professional paid job was dancing at the New York World's Fair. That's bizarre, historically speaking.
I know.
And then you got onto Laugh-In really young.
When I left New York, I danced in the theater in the Round, which is where I met Gus. That was my first husband. He's a dancer.
Oh, he
and
was?
I was a dancer, and that's what we did.
You both just have the best bodies.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I wish I
Let's
somehow...
put it this way. Strong bodies.
Strong,
for sure.
limber.
Yeah, limber and strong.
And good endurance.
And
those
endurance,
dancers.
yeah. It was good. I loved being a dancer. I loved it. But anyway, then I moved from there and I danced in Vegas. So I danced at the DI, Desert Inn.
Oh, and that was, for people who are not old enough, the DI was like the most elegant, elevated, fancy.
Yeah,
It was
it
the
was-
fantasy of Vegas.
It was.
It peaked with the Desert Inn. I stayed there before it had been torn down, and it felt so special.
It was very special. So that was where we danced, okay? And I lived way out in the desert somewhere. And I was 20. But you know, the story that I have there going to the desert, I was in Anaheim for like 2 months. I thought that was Hollywood. And then I ended up getting to Hollywood with a friend. And then I did an audition for Vegas. And the next thing I know, I'm going to Vegas. Never been to Vegas. I got a car. Actually, I upped my grade of the car. It was a Chevy with the big fins on it, and it squeaked all the time.
Like a 57 Chevy-ish?
Yeah, the car that I had before that, I couldn't make a right-hand turn because my left-hand door would fly open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, so now I'm getting with the girls and we're caravanning. Now, we're on the 10. I don't know where I am. I'm just following the girls, going to Las Vegas. Somebody had a map. I didn't. And I had me and my little poodle, and that's all I had in life at that point. And so now I get there, and all of a sudden I get a flat tire. All the girls go by me.
Oh, they're gone.
They're gone.
See you in Vegas. Good
They're
luck with the
gone,
tire.
And I'm all alone on the 15 or wherever, heading for Death Valley.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going, where am I? So I got off, I stood on the fins of my car, and I waved anybody down because I needed help. So this one guy stopped. He was in a suit. He was going to a date. And he said, I'll change your tire for you. And then he got me to the gas station. And then he took off. So now I said, how do you get to Vegas again? And they gave me just hang on 15 or whatever. The number
You'll
was.
see it. You'll hit
You'll
it.
get it. So now I'm in the car, and now it gets pitch black dark. Scared to friggin' death. There's no moon out. I'm seeing sort of a little thing of a mountain, or what is this? I thought, oh my God. And I turned and I looked to the right. There was somebody hitchhiking.
Oh.
So I picked him up.
Oh my God. The moment you were terrified, you're like, let's put a hitchhiker in this equation.
But I trusted everybody, okay?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out that he was a Green Beret, and he was coming back from Vietnam
No way.
to surprise his mother.
No way. This would only happen to you. People like you that just trust and they're rewarded.
I had the most wonderful time with him.
Did you let him drive?
No.
Okay, that's best.
No, we had an ice cream sundae before, and it was so beautiful. And then I dropped him up. I mean, it was truly a blessed event.
Hold on a second, though. There's a real man who got back from Vietnam, and he has this story. He's like, you wouldn't believe this, but I got picked up by Goldie Hawn
I wasn't
when I was a
very
kid.
young.
She- yeah,
I know
exactly.
you are. I know you
Oh,
are.
yeah.
But potentially years
Well,
later.
later he's watching. He's at the
Yes,
movies.
he's
and
watching. He's
wait.
like, where do I know this chick
Well, it wasn't
from?
that long, actually, because Laugh-In came after that.
Right. So he was at home with his mom. Now he's with her.
Yeah.
And
It's
he's
a great
like,
day for him.
Yes. And just over the years, it's kind of like there's a very famous story about a man who picked up Howard Hughes had crashed his plane in the middle of the Nevada desert, and a man saved him and took him to the hospital, and he gave that man $1 million and bought him a house and all this
Isn't
stuff.
that something?
Yeah, it's like this very famous story.
I love
But
this
this
story.
guy has a little version of that. He's like, not only did she pick me up hitchhiking, which she shouldn't have done, we then had banana splits or ice cream sundaes.
I know.
He's probably a movie star too now. Anyone who comes close to you gets to
Probably
be a
Gene
movie
Hackman.
star. Yeah.
You think it might have been Gene Hackman?
Oh my God, Gene Hackman. I loved him so much. And he went to buy a house. And I went to that house to buy that same house. It was in the Valley. And then my producer at that time of basically my first movie, Cactus Flower, he said, don't get that house. It's Michael Curtiz's old house. He had nothing but bad luck in that house. Child died in the pool. He said, yeah, I don't want you in that house. And I said, okay, I'm not getting it. So then I'm having dinner with Gene. And he said, I think I'm going to buy that house.
Oh.
Gene, don't buy the house.
You told him.
Don't buy the house. There's some bad stuff. And he bought the house and then he got a divorce.
Oh, there
He should have.
you
He should have. Heeded
it's
your
like
warning.
sometimes
You got to
you know.
listen. Yeah. So you dance in Vegas at the DI. Didn't know that part of it. Get Laughing. Even if that show was fifth in the ratings, I don't know what it was back in the day. But this is back when 30, 40 million people watched the fifth place show. So I'm imagining overnight you kind of lost anonymity, at least walking around, no?
That's when I lost my anonymity.
That was rough for you, right? Mentally.
What was rough for me was being chosen out of the chorus line on a TV show that I did with Tennessee Ernie Ford, Andy Griffith. And these were singers, entertainers, all beloved. And there was a special. And we did an audition. I went to several auditions for dancing. And I got this one. And there were 12 girls. And we were dancing and singing, which means we got more money. And I was very excited about it. And it was my first show. I called mom and dad and I said, oh my God, I've got my first show. I'm in on TV. And then he said he's always going to use me. And I'm so excited. And then on that show, this guy comes up to me and he says, do you have an agent? And I said, I don't. Right now, I don't really need one. And he said, well, I'm an agent for William Morris. He said, I'd actually like to see you. And I got his card and all this stuff. And I mean, how many cards did these guys give me? Please, that's a whole other book.
Yes.
It's too many things to tell you. Yeah. So I got a call at home from a secretary, and she said, excuse me, are you Goldie Hawn? And I said, yes. She said, well, we're all waiting for you here in the office. I just completely forgot about him. For me, it was just a come on.
You thought it was a guy that was just hitting
He's just another guy. I go in my car. Now, that was the car that had no floorboards, really.
Okay.
You could
So
see
you're seeing the ground go by.
Yeah, it was cool, though.
Unless it rained, then water would splash up inside.
Yeah,
I've had
exactly.
a couple of these.
I wrapped my legs in towels because it was so cold. Anyway, so I go to William Morris and I sit there like, as my mother would say, a locking cup. What am I doing here? And now he talks to the agents and he says, I just have a feeling about her. And they said, well, I don't know. I mean, you can sign her. He said, I'm going to put her up for Persky and Denoff's show. And they said, well, she's too young for that. He said, that's okay. I just want them to meet her. Now, this is without me saying a word. I'm going, boop.
Am I going? Am I not going? They're
Am
saying
I
I'm not going.
Am I here?
Oh, he
Where
thinks
am
I'm
I?
going.
Why does everybody drive a Jaguar here? Now I have this audition. I brought all my own teapots and stuff to do my own whatever. And then I left and I went home. And then this guy called me, who's my agent now. And he said, you got the part. And I said, I did not get the part. I said, I'm too young for the part. He said, no, they wrote a part in for you.
And this was Laughing?
No, this was Good Morning World.
That was your first.
That's the first one, and that was 26 guaranteed weeks.
No way. Goodbye, no floorboards cars.
Exactly. I mean, it was pretty crazy. That is where I got my start, and that is when I became depressed. Because I loved being a dancer. I worked all my life never thinking. People said to me, what do you want to be when you grow up, Goldie? We want to be a ballet dancer, a star. I just said, I just want to be happy. I'm 11. I'll never forget this. So the reality is that I never wanted to be a star. I was picked up by outcaps people and picked up by people trying to do the come on, giving me lies. I just thought everybody in Hollywood was just fucked up.
Full of shit, yeah.
And I didn't want to be like that. I wanted the white picket fence. I wanted to cook dinner. I wanted to have children. I wanted to teach dancing.
Was Gus threatened by this new chapter that was presenting itself?
Well, I don't know that he was threatened. All I know is at the pinnacle of when everybody went, oh my God, Goldie Hawn, what I want to know, and compassionately, how can you live with that? Everywhere you go, people see you. They don't see him. Every party you go to, you're the main thing. I couldn't watch it. It's brutal.
Yeah. I had a girlfriend for 2 years while I was on TV, and I'd see the same people introduce themselves to her 7 times.
Yes.
I'm like, what are you talking about? 2 years ago, you would remember her, not me.
Right.
She's smarter than me, did better at school than me, is more charismatic. What happened here? It's so hard for that person.
So that's what happened. There were no harsh
it was part of the
words.
depression.
No, the depression came. We weren't even finished filming, really, Good Morning World. I went to New York, and it was an affiliates thing for CBS. And I'm signing autographs. I had just left there a year and a half ago. I only had my dog that I paid $250, and I had only $50 left in my pocket. Of course, I didn't spend properly, but I did have a great dog.
Yeah. It's not generally where you allocate your
Put it this
limited
way,
resources.
I didn't go alone on the big trip across the United States of America in a big plane like I'd never been in. To me, I needed a dog. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Comfort dog. When this happened, something happened to me. And everyone was so happy for me. And I didn't know why I was not happy. Because I was in a different world. I left my dancers.
It was going too fast for you, maybe.
Yes, first of all, that was never what I wanted to be. I wanted to be normal. And I used to say that to Daddy. You know, this was after I'd already made it. Because he'd come over and we'd have coffee in the morning. And I said, Daddy, I just want to have a normal life. And he said, Go, you're not normal. And you got to realize this.
Yeah, you got to accept
Yeah.
this.
You got to accept you're not normal.
Because otherwise you'll be miserable until
Right.
you do.
So the expectation, I'm the opposite. I had no expectation. All I was celebrating was the fact that I was dancing on TV and I was still going to dance because Nick Castle was the greatest choreographer. And he said, oh my God, you're my new girl. You're going to be it. And the next thing I know, I'm not the it girl. I am now on a TV show. And then I just got deeper and deeper into what you call panic attacks. I can't even describe them. And anybody who has had them, you don't know when they're coming. I just stayed home in my chair and I drank tea and I went to work because I felt like if I went into public, I would get sick to my stomach.
And not a lot of tools then. This is 1967.
Exactly.
It's like no one knows what to say to you. They
And no one
maybe
knows-
give you a quaalude or something, but they don't know what to do.
No, this is actually one of the areas now that people are struggling with. We're struggling with mental health with our children right now, big time. And no one knows how to fix it. There's a malaise, there's a sadness, there's a hopelessness. Our children aren't jumping and dancing and playing joyfully with not a care in the world the way they should be. I get emotional on this. But I'm doing something about it. It's the best thing you can do than complain. You just want to make a difference in the world. But in terms of where I was then, I didn't know. And I saw a doctor. I found a doctor. I saw him for 9 years. I was so focused on what I call the university of me. I really wanted to know how this happened. What is my brain doing? What am I thinking? And it was very Freudian.
Of course, in 1967.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which means lie down and free associate.
Did you ever do acid therapy?
No, I never did any. I smoked a little bit of dope. I never liked it. I don't like being altered state.
You're kind of already altered.
But I'm kind of altered.
You're already high enough.
You know what?
naturally.
It's really funny. I got to tell you this.
Yeah.
So I'm laughing. This woman comes up to me. She's a magazine writer. She said, don't you feel responsible for being a dumb blonde when women are now finding their liberation and they're burning their bras in the time of liberation? And I looked at her and I said, actually, I'm already liberated.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know what's so funny? I wrote down this. She said, well, don't you feel kind of irresponsible for being like a dumb blonde and, playing dumb in a time when women are reaching out to become independent and liberated?
Oh my God.
And you said, oh, but I'm already liberated.
Exactly. Exactly. I said, because liberation, I think, should come from the inside.
Yes. I'm so sorry you don't like my version of liberated,
Oh,
but
no,
this
no.
is what it looks like for me.
No, exactly. What I'm getting at is that I was never afraid of anything. So to be in a panic situation,
It threatens your identity, right? You're like, who am I?
Everything.
This isn't who I am.
everything. These are things we want to share with people because there are people having panic attacks right now.
And you navigated it. I mean, fuck, it took 9 years, but you navigated it because you engaged in the fight. That's minimally what you have to do.
And you know what else I did? I started meditating.
I didn't know this about you. Do you do TM?
Yeah.
Me too.
It's great. It's simple. It's beautiful. You can do it anywhere, anytime. You don't have to have a ritual. It's nice to start out with one. Become really good at sinking down and actually being incredibly present. But on the other hand, you take it with you wherever you go.
It's pretty crazy. I feel so lucky that I stumbled
I
upon
know.
that. Just fucking 20 minutes a day of no racket. That was kind of inconceivable to me prior to that.
The brain just thinks anyway. So the reality with neurobiology, I'm going to put this down here.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah,
it's-
put it wherever you want.
is,
You can throw it on the ground. I don't care.
I feel like I'm lying down here because it's like...
Yeah, you're not.
Speaking of
I sit up
Freud,
We
so
gotta get
straight.
you a better,
I'm too straight back. I used to hate it when I was little. I didn't look cool.
Well, that's the dancer. You had to have
Yeah.
great
I
posture.
know. I didn't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it then. I didn't like my name either.
Oh,
Well, you had a
so
producer.
good.
In fact, the producer on the first show you were on
Oh God.
said to Goldie, you can't use this name in the credits. You sound like a stripper. Goldie Hawn.
Oh my God, what is wrong with everyone telling you that you're a dumb
I know, and
blonde,
that's where I
a
met Kurt.
Oh.
He was 15 and she was 22.
No.
And they were doing a show.
I was 21.
And he was a 15-year-old.
Oh my God.
And he's looking at this bombshell dance in this family. What the fuck was it called? The
The
Genuine
one and
Family.
only genuine original family band. The worst title.
There's about 6 periods in there, too. That's the best part of that title is there's a period
It
after
was so
every word.
bad.
The one and only, then period, genuine period, original family band, period. But he saw her.
Of course.
'Cause come on.
Of course he did.
21-year-old Goldie
So
dancing.
I go into his office, the producer, who I actually quite remember, and he told me that. And I went, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not changing my name. My mother gave me that name, and it belonged to my great aunt who raised my mother, and I wouldn't do that. So you can use my middle name.
Yeah, to
Jean.
class it up.
You can say Goldie Jean Hawn.
So your first credit is Goldie Jean
Oh, I
Hawn.
see. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
can you imagine?
Oh, my God.
But I gotta say, and this goes back to why I was curious about if you were daddy's girl, because you've been attracted to strong men, but beyond that, I look at your scene partners over the years and it's fucking nuts. There weren't a lot of women that were in two-handers with Steve Martin, with Chevy Chase, with, you name it, your first movie, Walter Matthau. You go toe-to-toe with these kind of titans of the era, and you are pound for pound as strong and flashy, and they think you're cute and blonde, and yet you have them in a headlock.
I know.
And it's
I
this
never thought of
incredible
that.
magic trick that happened your whole life. So it's like, yeah, you got to hate that he called her a stripper, but that at the same time, it's a part of the whole recipe that was so intoxicating. Warren Beatty, who the fuck can tackle Warren Beatty at that time, 74, shampoo? And for you to run circles around Warren Beatty while seemingly being, oh, I don't know, is a magic trick. And you know you're in on it. You have to be in on it. You're underestimated. How about that? That's maybe the most concise way to say it. The persona was you get underestimated, and then when it was go time, fuck off.
It was very interesting being underestimated, especially for women in comedy. They don't value it the way they should. But on the other side, I mean, I never complain. But the thing is that with men, for instance, with Warren, who I adored. I made 3 movies with him. I swore I wouldn't make another movie every time I left and finished the movie. I'll never do this again. But he got me every time. But during Shampoo, he wanted me to do the movie for a certain amount of money. And I had just done a few movies back to back. I was tired. Julie Christie was in the movie as well. And Julie got a certain amount of money. And I thought to myself, this role is a thankless role. She's just one of those Beverly Hills girls. She doesn't have much to do. She's scared. And I said, I can't work for that little money. I'm tired. And I really deserve to have more money than that, Warren. You can't make a deal with me. It's not going to happen.
Right. I'm not that charmed by you.
But this is the other side of me, which says this is not working.
Yeah.
I'm
And
cute
fearless.
and friendly and optimistic, and I have boundaries and I value myself.
Well, yeah, and I produced movies, and there was one movie, Wildcats, where I wasn't in New York. We were producing it, and I went and I read with some of the people, and it wasn't working. And the actors were fine, but I realized this script is not working. The words aren't there. That's why it's not working. And I called Mark Rosenberg, who was the head of the studio at that time at Warner Brothers, and I said, Mark, we got to talk. This movie needs to be rewritten. So Phil Robinson, he said, no problem. We'll postpone for 6 weeks, and we'll get it written right. Now, that's the way it used to be. People who
Yeah,
cared.
that would never happen now.
Today, it's grinding it
Like,
out.
you start on this day or you don't have a green light anymore.
No, it's really interesting. Then there were other stories, which I won't share with you, but you got to stand up for yourself.
Well, that's what pisses me off about the writer for the women's magazine who made that statement about you. And this is my own pet peeve currently with our culture, which is it's really easy to say anything and to evaluate and to judge while doing nothing. You're doing the shit that becomes a standard. You actually impact all the women that follow you. That's a real thing. Yelling
that's
at
real
somebody.
progress.
That's real action. That's not like they did it wrong. They said the wrong thing. That doesn't help anyone. Until you've helped other women in your life, just shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
That drives me insane. Everyone's the police now, but they're not themselves lifting anyone. They're just trying to tear down other people.
No, it's very interesting. It's the complainers. It's the people that are basically addicted to the negative perspective. When we find ourselves negative, everything in our life is going to be negative. It's just the way it is. And if you feel happy and you really work on the fact that you want to turn that negative information that you heard and I got to shake it off, you can do it. You supplant other thoughts in your mind. We have a choice to do that. And that's really beautiful about being human. We do have a choice, no matter how hard it is. And that does change the brain. Ultimately, our brain is there. It's malleable. We change our brain.
Well, think about the rest of your body. If you go up to altitude, You're there for a while. Your body starts making more hemoglobin. It goes, oh, there's not as much oxygen up here. I need some more hemoglobin
That's
to
right.
transport the limited amount there is. Every piece of your body can do that. It's adaptable. So what do you want it to adapt to?
Well, that's the thing. I think today, when you get into where we are politically, we are adapting to the very things that we believe. So then that becomes gospel. And then it becomes contagious. So emotional contagion is very real. The idea that you can change your mind is not allowed. There's a really good book on that, about changing your mind.
Not Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind.
That's on psychedelics.
No, not Pollan's book.
But you're right. There's a kind of pervasive, or at least I think there is, and maybe I'm just getting older. That could be the problem. But there seems to be a pervasive victimness where everyone would be powerless over this. To your point, that they couldn't reframe something or move on from it or rise above it. It's all consuming. It's arresting, and that person has to be removed from my world because it's overwhelming to me.
For instance, Kurt and I are totally opposite on politics.
Yes, I love it. It's so fun to listen to you
I
two
didn't
talk.
know that.
He's a libertarian, and you're an 80s liberal. How about that?
Here's what I am. I'll be honest with you. Because what I learned recently, I was a tough mother.
A tough mother.
I was tough. And I heard this from one of my friends. He's now running Warner Brothers, but he was Oliver's best friend and still is.
Jesse.
Jesse. Oh, there you
Jesse
go.
Herman. Shout out Jesse Herman. We love Jesse.
Oh my God, I love Jesse. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Jesse, he said to me, you were a very tough mom. You were strong. And I went, I never saw myself that way. Listen, Katie had parties, and one party, I came downstairs, I was in my nightgown. She was having a party. It was like 3 a.m. And I looked at everybody, and they seemed to be having fun. So I walked around the room, and I turned out some lights, and I said, lighting is everything. And I walked out of the room.
You guys don't have the right vibe in here.
I know. I thought it was cool, right?
Yeah.
But no, he said, because you didn't get mad very often. But when you did, we knew right away.
You're the immovable object when you need to be.
Exactly. It was really interesting to find that out. But I'm also that way about my product. I'm that way about my Mind Up program. I'm that way about my movies. I was that way with every movie I made.
So Mind Up, really quick, you've been working for quite a long time on a project, Mind Up, that you came up with, and you actually have a curriculum that's available both as an app and online, and you take it to schools, and 7 million kids have used it.
It's all about learning how to manage your emotions. But it gives children the ability to understand they have more agency than they think they do.
Oh, I love
So
this.
when they're little, starting in kindergarten, they learn about the developing brain, your amygdala, your prefrontal cortex, and your hippocampus. These are the emotional parts of the brain. And we learn about what they do, and we learn about how they function, and we learn about how to reduce our stress and get out of the
Breathe.
amygdala and go into the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
So when you teach these children, it gives them the ability to manage themselves. Our research is extraordinary. We've had like 11 research projects going on. And the last one is the most interesting, is that we did epigenetic study with our kids.
Most fascinating part of the whole thing now, right?
Yeah, we realized that our children were able to methylate their genetics, particularly in the area of their brain, better than the control group. Wow. That kind of research can change everybody's mind. How do you create a school where you're building a child, a whole person? Because it's not just math. It's also give them an understanding how they can manage their own brain.
Well, by the way, it should be the absolute foundation, the socio-emotional learning, because if you can't self-regulate, how good can you pursue the math pursuit when you get in to take the test? Or step one is regulating yourself.
Exactly. So that's the foundation.
Everything else will be better
Everything
after
else will
that.
be better. So how do you prepare a mind for learning? I've been doing it for 20 years. I came up with the idea. I didn't even know what social and emotional learning was. And now the CDC has just come out and said, Mind Up is the program you should be using.
No shit.
Yes.
That is
So my
amazing.
little girls go to a charter school, and the whole premise is socio-emotional learning. And the stuff that they're picking up, I'm like, oh my God, I had to fucking become an addict, then go to AA to learn the thing you learned in 2nd grade. It's mind-blowing. The way they navigate conflict.
Exactly. And when I started this 21 years ago, nobody was doing it.
Right.
People
I'd never
looked
heard
at me
of
and
that.
said, you're going to teach kids about their brain? And I said, I am. And you're going to have them meditate in the classroom? I said, no, I'm calling it a brain break. It's not meditation.
Yeah, I know that's too triggering. Meditation's too
Well, first
wacky.
of all, true meditation is longer. But children, we do it 3 times a day, 3 minutes each time. And after a while, the brain gets used to that.
Right.
And then
Can
suddenly
click
the
in
brain goes,
quicker.
oh, I know what that is. So you just sink right down.
Do you teach them box breathing and stuff? Is there any like breathing exercises?
We breathe in the morning, but we breathe during our brain break. We follow our breath and we learn how to breathe in and out through your nose. You do that 3 times. All of our educators understand that breath is one of the most powerful things that we can give our children during the day to settle themselves because of what happens to the brain when you breathe. So everything is neurologically correlated.
Right. Once your heart rate gets above a certain beats per minute, the thinking automatically shifts to the amygdala. It says that we're in trouble. We need to be thinking instinctually.
Exactly.
Once your heart rate's at 170, you can't think with your frontal cortex.
No. And all the cortisol running through your body and all that. But what we have now is we're working with a cardiologist. He's got a breathing technique and we're partnering with him. But he said, Goldie, do you realize that the closest thing to our brain and the conversation with every organ we have is the heart? The heart is the most responsive to our brain, to our stress, to our anxiety, to all these things. The heart and the mind have an incredible combination.
Like the most direct connection
The
in the
most
whole body.
direct connection.
Yeah.
Which is why we need to breathe for heart health, aside from eat and do the right things. The idea that that is a conversation that the brain has with the heart every day, all day, and at night.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful analogy to beautiful brain and a beautiful heart. We want the children to recognize that these are words that are positive and wonderful. You know, we've got to look at our verbiage and how we put our words. So we have optimistic classrooms. We have classrooms kids want to go to. This is all we care about. And at this point in time, we're looking at, what are we going to do? We don't have enough therapists. Well, you know what? Put this program
Yes,
in
let's
every
start
school in
upriver.
America.
Yeah.
What is wrong with making that happen? Anyway, so that's me on my roll.
I love that. Talk about greatest accomplishment. That's incredible.
The bike riding to
But
the
you know what
family is a little above that for me, but just by like
I
a
mean,
micron. That's pretty.
Yeah, the right grind is good. But you know, I miss being funny. I really do.
I bet. It's a euphoric state, right?
Making people laugh is like the greatest thing you can do. And telling story within that actually matters, like
Yeah.
Private Benjamin or these movies that actually tell a tale. It's just the greatest thing ever. And I've been really head down in creating this for children. And the other part of it is that if something great comes along, you can't miss it. So I have a script that I wrote years ago. I have a producer coming in who wants to produce it and make a series out of it. By God, I'm going to do it. And it's really about life. It's about death and it's about happiness. It's really funny. She goes to take her husband's ashes. She loses them in India. And the rest of it is hilariously funny, but it's also a woman who's afraid of death. She's afraid of getting old. She doesn't want to give up her job. She really is on the edge. And when her ex-husband dies, he actually is the one pushing her in death through this experience so she can return back to who she lost.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Do you know Esther Perel? Do you know that therapist?
Yeah.
She has this really cool, maybe it's not proprietary to her, but she deals a lot with people who have had infidelity. And a point she makes, which I think is so profound, is quite often you think your partner cheated on you with another person because they liked that person. But in truth, they missed a version of themselves that person allows them to access. And I find that so much more compassionate and relatable. That's actually more about, I miss a version of me. This person gives me that version of me. It's not really about this person.
It's true. I mean, it takes two. You really do figure out where your identity is. What I didn't like at that point was marriage because people fuse. And fusion is very bad because once you start losing yourself and engage in someone else's everything and become too dependent.
When you have a single identity between the two of you.
Exactly. Then there's a loss of respect, there's expectation, and then a lot of people actually shift mentally when they feel tied up.
Yeah.
I always said, if I'm in a cage and I'm a bird and you leave the door open, I'll probably never fly out.
Right. Or if I take a little zip around, I'll probably return to the cage.
No, that's what I mean. I'll come back. I'll come back.
Yes, yes.
If you close the door to the cage, my feathers will be gone and I won't look like a bird anymore and I wouldn't survive. So we have to find out who we are and fly with it.
Well, I did think one thing I was listening to, and I love this about you, and now we're to the point where I think the yin and yang is really fascinating. And again, I am in a yin and yang. I am very much the Kurt, and she's very much like you. I identify deeply with this
Oh, yeah?
companion. Yes.
Of course.
I think every dude I meet's going to try to rob my wallet and I'm about to strike. And she thinks every dude we meet's going to cure cancer. That's the difference between us. And it materializes everywhere. But you talk so openly about how many things you end up going through over the course on Valentine's Day of 41 years.
41. That was our first date. And it could have been our first kiss. I don't know.
Who knows what all happened on that Valentine's
Yeah.
Day in
We're back in the-
1981,
we're back in the
83.
70s now.
Yeah.
Or
But
80s.
I was thinking, and I just like that you're so honest about that. There's phases and there's twists and turns, and you both are in stages. I was thinking when I was hearing you talk about it, I almost would guess if you guys had gotten married, you actually wouldn't be together now.
Probably not.
That in
You
some
think?
of the phases, you would have had to sever that thing, and then coming back together or finding peace would have been a whole other weird thing because it's all been framed differently. Like, I almost can imagine that you wouldn't have made it 41 years if you had gotten married.
Ultimately, when you look back on it, I've never asked that question of myself because what I like is waking up in the morning, and I've said this many times, and actually making a choice to be with someone. But, you know, as we go in partnerships, there's time when you don't want to be with them. It's normal. And people that say, oh, we are love with the most loving relationship. And everything he does is the greatest thing.
I feel blessed to be with
Yes,
him
I'm so
every-
blessed. And every day. And I'm thinking, no,
day.
I love you. I know that you're living in a fantasy world now. That's not fair. I mean, certainly people have good relationships. But it's the friction also that makes it interesting. Otherwise, it could be quite boring. So the idea is to be able to establish what you want in your life. I got a wild guy here.
Let's be honest about who you picked and who he picked.
Yes, I picked him.
Yeah, he's a wild
I like
dude.
that guy. We don't agree on certain things. He was tougher than me as a parent. And, you know, I got, why did you do that? But we have a very, very strong family because of it. That was one of the things that gave us things to talk about. But I think that if we were married, there probably could have been times when you go, oh, come on, I'm done.
Yes.
How many times?
Yes,
I'm
because
done.
you're married and you go like, can I live this way for the rest of my life, which I've already signed up for? No, I don't want to live this way for the rest of my
Exactly.
life. That's why I think it could have potentially ended.
It is absolutely possible. The only thing I could say is that I meet still a lot of men. Nobody came up to who he is.
This is an outside guess. And we interview a lot of powerful women. And there seems to be a pretty common pattern where men are very attracted to the powerful woman. They're dazzled by the powerful woman. And then once they're a partner with the powerful woman, they then want her to now end that.
That's true.
And so a lot of women who are successful, I have such great sympathy for because they either have to get a fucking golden retriever who's not challenging, isn't rewarding, isn't going to really be a partner building shit, that's just going along for the ride. Or an equal that's going to get jealous of the attention they receive and the money they make. And so, unfortunately, I think for women as successful as you, it's such a narrow field of men that's an equal, yet is confident enough to let you shine. That's my guess of why Kurt has been in the picture for 41 years. This motherfucker somehow has a confidence
Right.
that he is not threatened by your shine.
Right, he's not. There have been times when he would say to me sometimes, you're not a CEO, you're an actor, you're this, you're that. And actually, I said to him, unfortunately, I am a CEO.
Yes. Sorry to tell you,
I
but
got to break this to you.
I hate to break the news to you, but you know who I was when you met me.
yeah.
My point is that he was trying to help me. You can look at that and say, well, that's an insult. Or you can look at it and say, he's trying to help me feel better about something. You've got a choice of a way to look at it. Now, listen, we could talk all day on relationships, but if anybody's listening and they're with a narcissist, get out.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Now.
What do you think is the qualifying factor of that? Because it's not just arrogance or confidence, which sometimes I think gets conflated with narcissism.
Narcissists aren't born. They come out little babies just like everybody
Yeah.
else. They're shaped. If you take an example, like
Morgan Freeman.
Trixie.
he's like the star of this show.
He's our go-to if you don't want to use a real celebrity.
Yeah, no. But the symptoms of narcissism is really weakness. It's a sad story. One of the parent has to be a narcissist, number one. So they have to be raised by a narcissist for the most part. I'm not a doctor. It's what I've just read. If they behave in a certain way where they neglect you and then they praise you, then they neglect you and then they praise you. In fact, if this is something that you've been told and you're hurt, like I'm going to say somebody that we all know was put out in front of an organization, but didn't give the power of dealing with the money or anything. There's no belief in them. And sometimes when the children are troubled, they throw them out. They don't want them because they're a bad image. They don't reflect you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really important. So a child basically will take on the traits of the weakness of how that particular parent made them feel. And the only way they can survive is by lying, is by manipulation, by hurting people, by basically never wanting to be criticized at all. The minute you criticize a narcissist, they go mad. They
They're
call
a victim
people names.
all of a sudden.
They're victims. They say, everybody's doing this to me. Can't say sorry. Can't be vulnerable because they were raised that way. I have a lot of compassion for them, and I've lived with one. It's very, very difficult.
It's got to be really confusing, too, because the love bomb's got to be epic.
They're really good at it because they bring you back.
Yes.
Right.
And then they hit you over the head again. It's very damaging. And men just keep going on with their disease. And then women are neurotic because they stay and they
Crazy
become
maker.
weaker and weaker, and they don't have the ability, or they're fearful of leaving. The books that are written, all of them say not a curable condition, and we have to realize that these are not decisions that are made that are sensible. They're only made to protect themselves.
There's no rationality around
There's
it.
no rationale except that it protects them. It's a terrible cycle.
Yeah. We love this show called Couples Therapy. Have you seen it?
No.
With Orna. She's this incredible therapist in
Oh
New
my
York.
God, I wanna
It's
see
so
that
good.
show.
There's 3
Great.
seasons. We're so addicted. On one season, there is a legitimate narcissist.
Wait, which one?
The handsome guy who was with the girl. It's
Oh my
wild
God.
to watch.
Oh my
Because you
God.
realize all the things that have been described, or my understanding of narcissists, like everyone's just a prop in their life to confirm this story and image they have of themselves. And when they need that piece of the puzzle, they use it. And when they don't, they don't.
Well, it's their supply.
Yes, and to watch the master manipulation and the trickery as he's speaking, and you can see his partner, now that Orna's there, she can hear it for the first time. It's like having a third party present. She goes, oh, right, no, this is batshit. This
She
is
just needed
nuts, but
someone
I'm
else
usually
to
trapped
validate.
with him by myself, and I start not knowing what reality is. And this third person, I can see on their face, oh, this is nuts. It's so fascinating.
Right. It's gaslighting. Did I say that? Yes, you did.
And they're generally kind of smart, too. It's not like they're not
No.
good at it, right?
Well,
They're-
what's interesting is that now we're talking about men being narcissistic the most, but women are too. Goes both ways. But ultimately, the women that actually are in these relationships are smart.
Very.
Because they were attracted to someone smart.
And they feel they can fix it.
yes.
If anybody's listening to this and we keep this on and I roll here,
Yeah.
I would say get strong, love yourself, and get out.
Yeah. I smiled for half a second while you were talking 2 minutes ago, and then I thought you saw it, and it was a weird time to smile, and I want to tell you why I smiled. It just crossed my mind that when I was at your house in Muskoka, Kurt told me, and he believes this story, and I think it's so comical. He thinks only you were famous. He thinks that if he wasn't married to you and he was walking around the streets, no one would really know him. But he thinks you were super famous, and that if you were out, of course, there'd be attention. But in his mind, you were famous and he wasn't.
You know, I got to tell you something. That's what I love about him.
That's so funny and adorable.
He's interesting that way. You know, you're the show. I said, I'm not the show. You're the show. You take over every conversation. And you're the show. But he's like me in a way. Because he was raised to play baseball, raised to be a good racer. He was raised to be a good actor, and he went like a little soldier. He's a hard worker, you know, rewriting things, fixing things, making sure they work. We are both the same that way. He probably wishes I wasn't such a hard worker. But,
Right.
you know, you can't create a program that's driven 7 million children and not have worked hard.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes,
I
yes.
know, honey, but I'm changing the world. Can't you see?
Yeah. But what I liked about it is when he was telling that story, there's zero resentment. Like, that's his story, which is a silly story, first of all.
I
It's
know.
hilarious. And secondly, there was no resentment.
Not at all.
And there was no jealousy. And that's why I think he's the right man for the job, because he has this story that even inflates you and he's still not threatened by it or resentful of it.
Right. You know, he still brings me my coffee in the morning. He grabbed me the other day and he's kissed me all over my face.
Oh.
And I kissed him back. And it's kind of like that. Yeah. So I'm really happy I stayed.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I'm joking.
Over
but it's
time it
true.
becomes its own weird reward.
Yeah, relationships, it's like, what are the seas like today? Are they rough seas? Are they temperate seas?
Red sky at night or red sky in morning?
Is exactly.
Are the sailors taking
Are
warning?
we Gale
or is
Force
it...
7?
Okay, my last question is kind of just an overarching question. Thinking about you having your first real paid job in like 1964 at the World's Fair. We're looking at 60 years in this business. You've seen a lot of the eras. Fucking Fred Astaire read the envelope that announced your winning of the
just
Academy.
saw that.
I know she had never seen this. Do you know she was making a movie in London and she didn't go to the Academy Awards.
you
She
missed
won.
it.
It was her
forgot it was
first
on
big
television.
movie, and she still hadn't seen it. And Kimmel showed you
Kel and
somehow.
I were
Kimmel.
on our way to do a thing, for one flight. He said to me, "Did you ever see that?" I said, "I never did." He said, "Oh my God." He said, "I'm going to show it to you." So we dug it up, and I saw Fred Astaire, who was my true idol. I wanted to look like Audrey Hepburn, but I didn't want to be her.
Right.
So here we are. He's my idol. He said Goldie Hawn. I said,
he
said,
knows you
"Goldie
exist."
Hawn. He said my name. And I was in bed. I got a phone call and they said, "You got it." And I said, "I got what?" And they said, "Well, you won the Academy Award." And I went, "Oh my God, I didn't know it was on TV last night." That was it, It was like crazy.
Yeah.
And nobody told me. The only thing is that I did get a telegram from him.
From Fred
Back
Astaire.
in the day, the telegrams from Fred Astaire.
Oh, Lordy.
But time is a weird thing. The mind doesn't really know time. It remembers feelings and it remembers things that happen. But, I could say that could have happened yesterday because my body is responding in such a joyful way. I can't explain it, but it happened then. But for me, it happened now again.
Which is incredible because obviously feelings are impermanent, but it doesn't mean that they can't recycle or come again.
That's right.
Because the sad part is that they're impermanent. What you would love is to have that warm fuzzy and to hold on to it, but we can't. The good news is however many years later, you might still get the wave of warm fuzzy.
I do. For instance, today I had a phone call at about 8 o'clock this morning. Picked up, and it was Murali Duraswamy. He's a scientist at Duke. He's on my board, and he's an amazing human. And he was back to Chennai, so he goes home now and then to see his family. And he suddenly called me, and I went, "Why are you calling so early? What's going on?" He said, "I'm in India. We've just landed in Mumbai." He said, "And we're up here on the terrace looking and talking about things." He's an old friend of mine. I haven't seen him for so long. He then just said to me, "You know who my favorite actress was Goldie Hawn." And he said, "You're kidding. We've been working with children and brains." He said, "I got to call her right now." So I spoke to him. He had a perfectly Indian accent. He was a designer. And it put me back when I was in India so much. It put me back into this warm, wonderful feeling that I had when I was spending more time in India.
Right.
I mean, I'm telling you, I was there.
You were swimming in it.
Transported.
I was there. So we can do that. People who are feeling sad, depressed, or whatever, go look at some things that bring awe back to you. We will always remember those things.
Yeah.
And those are permanently beautiful things that you can bring back. It's prescriptive for happiness.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I like that.
But starting in the 60s, working all the way through the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, slowing down for some period while you were working on Mind Up. Of those eras, which was the most fun? And I have to imagine you feel like this isn't very fun for the new version of this. Like, it had to be more fun in the 80s.
Well, it's very subjective. The 80s for me was a lot of fun. I had a house in Ibiza. It was a wild time. My kids were little. I lived in a house that had no electricity or hot water. I was a hippie. I went to the beach every day in one part of my bathing suit, the other when I left home.
Lovely.
And my kids had friends. We hung out all day on the beach, and then we had full moon parties, and we drank yerbas, and some people got stoned, and it was just a beautiful time.
Well, also, that story in particular, you felt this loss of anonymity, which was hard in becoming the observed instead of the observer. But even in that phase, there were still refuges. There were still private moments. There was still a life you could be having that was really yours. And I think for the Goldie Hawn of today, the Jenna Ortega, whoever that is, there's no reprieve from it. It's the phone, and you could always get photographed, and someone could be recording, and then
Oh my
you're
God,
posting.
you're so right.
To me, there's like another dimension now that the already hard thing, now there's zero time away from it.
There really is, to tell you the truth. I'm not a hound on social media. I try to do things oftentimes on my little posts where I'm doing something funny and
stuff.
bring a little levity to the world. But it is for the kids. I see them with their stuff all the time. Our news, which is penetrating everybody's perspective, which is terrible. You can't get away from it. And it is so different not having a phone. It is so different living during a time where you could go sit, go be, go dream.
Get lost.
Get bored.
Get lost.
Doesn't
Take
exist
bike
anymore.
rides. I mean, we took rides and things in Europe, and we were never disturbed with bings or things or clicks or whatever it is on our phone. It's pretty amazing when you think of all those noises and how that sound actually can pollute your mind. Forget just what we look at sometimes. And even when we look at the fun stuff, we get addicted to it. It busies the day. It makes noise in your mind and your brain. There's too many things to process in your mind. This is when we're looking at our children who are neurodivergent. There's so many things that they're processing. It's very hard for them. We're living in a world now that's got bings and tings and things, and look at this, and you got to see this. It's so great.
We live inside of a pinball machine now.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Why am I happy when the music is off? Because for me, the symphony of silence. It's like a guru said to me once in India, "What color should I pick for this scarf?" He said, "Why don't you pick white? Because that has all the colors in it." And that's how I feel about silence. Silence is its own symphony. Sound, of energy, of frequency. And we can listen to that. We can listen to silence. And I think it's extremely important.
It's kind of intoxicating, too. Monica and I took a trip during COVID with our pod to Sedona. I was shooting there, and we rented a couple houses. And every night, our activity was to lay on the pavement, the road in front of the house, because there was no traffic. Yeah. So the road would be warm, and we'd lay on our backs and look at the stars, which are crazy in Sedona. And we would spend 2 hours. And I'm like, oh, my God. Yeah. It restored my faith. I thought I had been permanently broken and addicted to the stimuli. But that became not only stimulating, but restorative too. It was just like the greatest little hobby we've ever really had.
Silence is golden.
Yeah.
Sounds is
Golden.
Goldie.
Well, Goldie, listen, you were the last member of the family.
No, we have not had Roy, the dog, on.
Oh, you're right. We got to get this fucking show business dog.
Gotta get him in here.
Yeah, time's ticking. They have a different timeline. I adore you. This was so fun.
Yeah, this was really fun, honey. I was happy to be with you.
I mean, I just got to say, I was a kid obsessed with Chevy Chase, and then I would watch these movies with you and him, and I'd be like, who's Chevy Chase during this movie? Look at this person.
So cool. So cool for us.
Yeah, I'm so delighted you came down, and I
too,
adore
honey.
you. I want everyone to check out Mind Up. Get involved if you have kids in school. Suggest this as a curriculum. What's the website for Mind Up?
It's mindup.org, and it's the Goldie Hawn Foundation.
Monica loves it .org, so this is very good.
It makes it very reputable.
Yeah, we like it .org.
All right, I adore you. Give hugs and kisses to everybody.
I will, darling. Okay, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Stick around for the fact check. Because they're human, they make lots of mistakes.
Okay, so we're about to explain that we're in India, but when we first started talking, we just launched into it like you would know why we are in India. Obviously, we have Easter egg the fact that we were going to India.
Yes.
But we didn't say why.
Yeah.
And we are joining Bill Gates and the foundation to go around and look at all the different projects that he's got underway, or rather the foundation has on the ground in India.
Yeah, he's working on a lot of different types of projects. They've been here since 97, I think.
Yeah, there's the 25th anniversary of the Microsoft development place.
Right. Yeah, so we're here. We're here with Bill and the foundation, and
we're not with them yet.
We're not with them yet, but that's why we're here.
Yeah.
We couldn't say that until now, but now we can
because we're home.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're home now, and we're gonna kind of catalog.
Should we tell them the funniest part of this whole thing, or maybe the cockiest moment of this whole experience? Which is basically they asked, "Would you be interested in joining Bill?" And we were like, "Oh my God, of course." But as it got closer and we were having more and more conversations with his team about all the logistics, I had the audacity at one point to say, I only want one thing out of this trip selfishly, and that is we must play spades with Bill.
Yeah, that's a request.
That's the selfish agenda. So updates on whether that happened or not, but the notion that we might play spades.
It's on
And I think we're going to absolutely smash him, by the way.
I don't know. That's a big claim.
And then he's going to respect us.
Oh, God.
He's going to go, oh, my God, they're so smart.
Or he's going to crush and be like, oh, my God, why did I bring these?
Why did they want to play this game? They're so bad at it.
Okay, so,
Now we're just going to launch in.
yeah.
So you're actually going to do a fact check. I was just going to say, like, color commentary, our first few hours on the ground.
Well, I want to do that, but we also need a fact check.
Oh, okay, great.
So, we're going to, maybe on this first one, we'll do both.
Yeah, we're on a veranda.
Yes, you and I are
in Hyderabad.
Yeah, Hyderabad.
Okay, boy, it gives me anxiety.
Hyderabad.
Hyderabad is what I want to say.
I know.
That's not right.
No.
Lay off.
I don't know how my dad would say it exactly, but
And we can't get him on the phone because we're in India.
and he's on a cruise,
Oh.
so that would be, it would be a lot.
But we're on
Countries.
a veranda of a beautiful hotel, and there's already lots of birds.
Yeah.
This is a really fun and interesting revelation to us. In our life, we've only gone where you go to a new time zone and it goes forward or backward by an hour.
Yep.
But here, it went ahead an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm. And there's probably a reason.
Sure.
Let me
It's
see.
just so interesting. So, anyways, sunset, or rather sunrise, was 6:37 here, and it is 6:37-ish.
It's 6:53.
Okay.
As a fact.
Well, I guess we started assembling the equipment, which
At
shout out to Rob. We've got
6:37.
new microphones, and we were stumbling a bit.
Yeah. We are figuring out how to do this day because it was a 15 and a half hour flight to Dubai, then a layover there, which was a pretty quick layover.
You know, it was
2 hours.
2 hours,
And then
3.5 hour flight to here.
2.5. I
Are
think.
you sure?
I'm pretty sure because I napped and
Well, look, we left at 9:45, and we got here at 1:45.
but it changed an hour.
And we gained an hour and
a
30
half.
minutes.
Yeah.
Who knows? Here's the best way to describe it. We left LA at 3 p.m. on the 23rd, and we landed at roughly 2 a.m. on the 25th. Not 24th, 25th.
Exactly.
First time I've ever got on a plane and then got off, and it was 2 calendar days later.
It was basically 24 hours. We left at 3 p.m. in LA, and we landed basically
Almost,
at 3
yeah.
p.m.-ish in LA the
Right.
next day. So,
And we had slept. I did shockingly well. I have a very hard time sleeping more than 8 hours in real life on my bed.
yeah.
And I accidentally slept 9.5 hours on the flight to Dubai. I was out.
Which is amazing. We flew Emirates,
Yeah.
which was
was outrageous.
an extremely nice airline. I've never flown it before. Have you?
I had flown it once to Dubai
Okay.
in 2012 when I went to Africa.
Okay.
And I had flown business class. And it's why I got a platinum card. I'll never forget. Because if you bought a business class ticket, you got one free if you had a platinum card. So I was like, oh my God, yeah, whatever it was, $200 a year. Then I got this $10,000 plane ticket,
Oh my God, amazing.
For free.
Anywhere in the world?
international, not domestic.
Not Austin, Texas?
Not Austin International, Texas. So that's why I got it. Yes. And I had flown it, and we flew business, which was super duper nice, but there was first, and no one was in it. And that had bedroom doors.
Right.
That had proper, like, apartments, as we were saying.
Yes, so we have heard lore of the first class Emirates where there's like full rooms with showers in the room.
Apartments.
Yeah. And maybe that does exist. That I guess exists. Ours weren't like that, but they were pretty close.
It was darn nice.
It was so nice.
And it was one of those Airbus A380s or whatever. It was the gigantic. Like, did you notice when we entered, we were like on the second story. It was huge. It was one of those enormous.
There were some stairs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anywho, all
there
that to
was a
say.
shower in the
Toilet.
main, but it was so nice. Like the bathroom was so nice.
Yeah.
People I guess you signed up to take a shower, but we didn't. We
No.
decided not to do that.
As stoked as I was that it had a shower, the notion of showering the plane felt crazy.
I agree, and
Yeah.
I didn't bring shower shoes.
Who knows? Maybe on the way back I'll
Buy some
do a
shower
rinse
shoes and
off.
do it.
Yeah, do some slides. But yeah, you and I, we've spent the majority of the last 24 hours trying to figure out what our game plan is because we are 13 and a half hours off of our normal time zone.
Yeah.
We're so upside down, it's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, when we landed, it was 3 a.m. here, and at home, it was 2 p.m. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to figure out what we're supposed to do.
And it's we've
concluded.
I want to stay up all day.
Yes, I think that's the game plan.
And then go to bed at like
7 p.m.
9 or 10.
Yeah.
So that it's really, we're on a real schedule.
Right.
I mean, we will be having some earlier mornings here.
The next morning's 8 a.m.
Right.
Yeah,
So we need to practice waking up by 6:30 or 7 anyway.
To do our makeup and our hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta look great.
Wait, but real quick about Emirates. I want to say
sorry.
something important. Me and you got on, and we felt like we were in junior high.
We 100%.
We looked like we were lost children.
Yep.
We did
Even
not
when
look like we belonged there at all.
Nope.
We were walking up and down, peeking in.
Yeah, I was in and out of the bathroom. I was
Taking
making videos of the bathroom, and this flight attendant kind of caught me, and I was embarrassed. But she goes, "Oh, the other one's bigger." So I went into that one and made a
Yes.
video to send to Lincoln.
Yeah.
She watched Dr. Mike. Shout out Dr. Mike on YouTube. His main advertiser is Emirates. So
Yes.
she weirdly,
Which I want
has an
them to be our
awareness.
main advertiser.
Yeah. Me too, if we get to fly all the time.
Yeah.
But yes, we both felt very much like we were in junior high, which was a very fun feeling.
It was fun. It's really fun to feel so excited about something luxurious and to feel like you don't belong. But it was funny when I was sitting there and I was really feeling it.
Yeah.
I also realized I feel that way often.
Oh, okay.
Even
But in a positive way or a negative way?
I think this time it was so positive, but I
Yeah.
think normally it's negative, specifically in
Fancy things.
fancy things. Plane flight, like every time I get on a first class flight, even domestic, I feel like people wonder why I'm there.
Yeah. Well, I had that too. But they
Yeah.
do wonder why I'm there.
Right.
For sure.
But
Unless they
I
see
don't
me on
wonder
TV.
on any other person. Like,
I do.
You
I
do?
stereotype. If I see a dude get on that's got crazy hair and tons of tattoos, I'm like, well, he's not an accountant and he's not the vice president of something.
Do you
He
think
is
he's like
a
a
musician.
Yeah.
Yes, or he's an athlete, or he's
Right.
So I do it too.
I guess
and I'll
that's
say this
true.
really stung us in the butt when we got off in India and we went through customs, because it's my opinion that the guy did not believe we were staying at the hotel we had listed on our customs form. And he was like, "What's your confirmation number?" And I was like, "Oh, I
Right.
don't know. I didn't. There was no box for your confirmation number."
Right.
And then I had put my own phone number.
We messed up the thing. We put
Yeah.
our phone number. We were supposed to put the phone
So he
number
sent
of
us
the
away
hotel.
and said, like, you figure out the phone number to this hotel you're staying at.
Yeah.
And then he also was like, what's your, you don't have an employer listed on your visa, I guess. And I was like, oh my God, it got so embarrassing. I was like, well, we have a popular podcast.
I know you
and I used the word
panicked.
popular.
You did. You
Yeah.
did. You panicked and said popular, and I.
Because I was thinking from his point of view, like, give me a break. We have a podcast, and that's why we're staying at this nice hotel.
He would never. He's gonna be like even more skeptical after you
Popular.
said that. He's like popular.
I was
going
going to keep that a secret, but I'm glad I got
I'm
it
glad
out.
you said
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he. But and then I said we're traveling with the Gates Foundation, and
Which
I
was like
threw him under the bus. I don't know if we were even allowed to say that.
Yeah,
but
we're
I
just like,
did.
we were clutching for something
Pearls.
legitimate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We had
but-
no employer. We didn't know our confirmation number. We put the wrong, and
Yeah.
lots of fingerprints, whatever. But I definitely think if I had put on my sweatshirt, which I should have,
Yeah.
I don't think he would have been like.
You thought the
as-
tattoos.
I think the tattoos.
You also, though, again, so much of it is our projection. You felt out of place, and so when he was asking you things, it was confirming your opinion.
Well, Also, we had watched many people go through. I knew the pace at which people were being let through, and ours slowed down dramatically. Annie sent us away.
Ish. Well, yeah, because we messed up.
Annie had a lot of follow. Well, but it started with, do you have a confirmation number?
Which
do you think he asked everyone if they had
maybe, I don't know. While he was asking you questions, I was looking, and there was obviously this other American. They were asking him. He was there for the same amount of time.
Okay.
And
yeah, it might have been in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're a fish out of water here.
Well, also the tattoos thing is, at
be.
home. I like that. I've said this before. I like that people are like, this guy doesn't belong in here. That gives me like a bit of pride.
But here, no.
Here, all of a sudden, I started getting realistic. Like, I might end up in the, where they
The jail?
they check your butt out and stuff. Like, how deep will this
No.
go? And then I thought, this has gotten very real in a hurry. Like, I might not be admitted, and I'm going to fuck up the whole trip.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Ding, ding, ding. This
Yeah.
is karma.
Oh, tell me.
This is karma.
Okay.
So Anna, me, you, and the girls went to London a couple of years ago. And Anna's from Venezuela and moved when she was 18. So in Venezuela, it's hard to get in and out. And in other places, it's hard to get in and out if you're Venezuelan.
Yeah.
They won't let you. And so we went through customs, and you made a joke in London, and you said, "Oh, she's not with us,"
Yeah, as a joke.
as a joke.
Yeah.
And she laughed, but then after she said, "That was so scary." Like, she's primed to be very scared in that situation and for it to possibly go badly.
Yeah, she's waiting for it to go wrong.
Yeah. And so now you've had a little bit of that feeling.
Yeah.
And so we call that karma here in India.
Although I'm reading my book, in fact, the page I read on the airplane while we were en route was saying that Westerners don't use karma right.
What did they say?
That it's not like a tally that benefits you and comes back to you, and that's just kind of an obscuring of what it is. I'm not good enough to
They didn't
explain
say,
what it really
okay.
is. In fact,
All
I
right,
stopped
look
at
it
the
up.
part that kind of said, in the same way that it's pointed out the inaccuracies of how we say, like, life is suffering. Like, that's a really incomplete summation of Buddhism.
Yeah.
A lot of these words are translations for words that there isn't a translation for. So the best comp is suffering, but really it more means life is change.
Oh, yeah.
Life is change, and with change comes discomfort.
Hardship, yeah.
And with change comes craving, and which is just summarized into life is suffering.
Huh. Well, this says, but this is according to WebMD.
Oh, wow. Let's see what the Western...
It's another Western. Okay, but it does say, or should I do Wikipedia?
Probably Wikipedia.
Okay, the word Karman, which is probably the full actual word, is a concept of action, work, or deed, and its effect or consequences. In Indian religions, the term more specifically refers to a principle of cause and effect, often descriptively called the principle of karma, where an individual's intent and actions influence their future effect. Good intent and good deeds contribute to good karma and happier rebirths. Yeah, a lot of it's for reincarnation.
Yeah, like I think a lot of Westerners use it as like a tally system, like if you've done good.
Right.
But mostly every time I'm reading karma in this book, it's talking about volition. It's talking about movement and choices and effect.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, I guess.
While bad intent and bad deeds contribute to bad karma and bad rebirths. Yeah, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, and Taoism. Karma in the present affects one's future in the current life, as well as the nature and quality of future lives.
Yeah, it also goes into, like in this book, it goes in depth into breaking out what actions are. Not everything can even be summed up as negative or positive.
No, totally. But it is, in effect, what goes around comes around, right? Not in a tally, but just like what you put out comes back. And so I still think
like
it counts.
What your actions are going to have effects, I think, is the most.
But effects on you. Like, it's not just like what you
Sure.
put out, you cause negativity. It's that eventually will come back to you.
Right.
Which is what happened to you at the visa place at customs.
At any rate, this place we're sitting in front of is really impossibly beautiful.
Yes.
There's a little fountain. I hope you can hear it. There's birds chirping. There are mosquitoes. We did debate whether or not we were going to take our malaria medicine because we heard it made you nauseous. We were seriously considering skipping it.
I know, because we had a friend who just went to Africa and it like really messed with her.
And my travel doctor said most people take it halfway through the trip and stop. So I was kind of like, look, if we're going to take it halfway and stop, I'd rather just not take it. But then we were smart and we said, well, let's just take it.
See
You're
how we
supposed to
feel.
start 2 days before you leave anyways. See how we feel. We both took it and we both felt fine. So luckily, like right now, I'm so glad because there's
We would have been
mosquitoes everywhere.
panicking, yeah.
Yes, we would not be outside on the
I already am
veranda.
panicking a tiny bit because when I went to my travel doc, which was different than yours, I bought a lotion that's bug spray, basically. So it's
Right.
heavier duty.
Yeah.
And then also a
creme?
spray for your clothes.
And you decided to scrap that.
I decided to skip it because I had packed and then I realized I had it and I was like, I'm not going to unpack and spray all these clothes. But today I'm regretting it.
Right. You wish everything you were wearing had been sprayed.
I do.
I feel like the pills are going to protect me.
Me
I'm not
too.
too worried about it.
But they'll protect us from malaria, but they won't protect us from bites.
That's true.
And I get a lot of bites.
Yeah, but I did put the creme all over my arms.
Good.
Where the aforementioned tattoos are, which cause potentially, or maybe not, the problem at customs. But we had like an hour-long ride from the airport to the hotel, which was, I don't know. How do you, like, you have a fantasy of going somewhere, and you have a fantasy in your head, and you've just seen things on TV. And to really be there, so interesting.
How does-
And
yeah,
it
you tell
feels
me,
very
and then
like
I'll tell you.
Twilight Zone-y. Like, how could I? I'll give you an example, and this is not a judgment of good or bad, but when Nate and I went to Afghanistan on a USO tour, we'd be in helicopters flying over the desert, and I just kept going like, could I really possibly be here in this helicopter in this
Yeah.
war zone? Like, it does. I don't know if I really let my imagination take me to some of the places
Yeah.
I've gotten to go. And
Like, to
certainly, like,
understand
flying
its
in a military
reality.
helicopter with a bulletproof vest on and flying
Yeah.
around a compound where the guys are shooting at the... I just kept looking at Nate like, could we possibly really
Like we're in a
be-
movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so very much the ride, I was like,
Yeah,
it's going to
that's how
take
you
me
felt.
like time to really comprehend that we're here. It is truly so different.
So different.
Yeah.
I'm so happy we're here. I was anxious leading up to this trip, but I'm very happy we're here. I feel like it's going to be really fun for us, and I think it's going to be very good for me and good for processing a lot of things. We were at the airport, and I said to you, everyone's my dad here.
Yep.
Everyone looks like my dad.
Yep.
And there's all these
I
Indian
couldn't
babies.
say that, but I just want to be clear. I didn't say everyone looks
I
like
said
your dad.
it. No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
know,
Everyone looks like my dad.
I know that.
But everyone is my dad. Like my dad could have been one of these people in this airport.
Yep.
It's just it's surreal. Like it's a very bizarre feeling. And then I have so much gratitude that they left, but I also have a ton of respect that they're from here. I don't know. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot for me to wade
To
through,
process.
I think.
Yeah.
And we talked about this before on a fact check, I think, but I'm flagging for myself that I think I feel defensive. Like I feel defensive.
I've picked up a tiny bit of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Like
Yeah,
that's
like I wanted to point things out as we were driving in the car, and I thought I gotta maybe be careful. My observations weren't to say like it's crummy here or something, just like, oh, I'm just noticing all the different things that are different.
Yeah.
The three-wheeler ticks or whatever those are called that are driving around. People on motorcycles, they're all going like 10 miles an hour down the road. That was so interesting. There's dogs everywhere.
There are dogs everywhere. I said that.
Yeah. And it's also changing very dramatically, like
For
from the
sure.
airport to where, 1 mile out. The roads are really changing dramatically and the whole thing. I'm nervous when I'm pointing out things that are different. You think I'm pointing out things that are bad or negative.
Yeah, I would fear that.
Yeah.
I would fear that. And I don't want to do that. And then I also want you to, which I think you do, but like recognize any time it's like, oh, that's weird, which you're gonna say and you should say, and that's part of this experience is like seeing the differences, but hearing like, oh, that's weird.
And I crave weird. Like I want
know,
to.
but like weird. Like
sounds like a
that's
pejorative.
so triggering for me.
Yeah.
Because if someone came into my house and there was a little Krishna, what's that? That's weird.
Right.
And it is weird to them, but that's my family, that's my identity, that's my history. Like, it's very triggering to hear it. And it's just, it's
and
interesting.
for me, it's why I want to travel. It's like the actual reason I desire to leave where I'm from so I can see things that are different.
Yes.
And see how people live differently.
Yeah.
And like, that's the appeal of it.
I'd
be bummed if things didn't look weird to me here.
But weird is different than different, right?
Right. So you're right. I could go like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
But weird for me is not bad. In fact, weird's probably good.
But weird for me growing up is bad.
Yeah.
And it's associated with
when little
this.
kids say weird, I think
generally it means
they're grossed out.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, this will be very, very interesting.
Can I talk about the atmosphere, though?
Yeah.
Right when we got off the plane, it hit me right away. The humidity. But it was 3 a.m. and it was 70 degrees.
It
and
was
so
breezy.
I almost said weird. We took a very different mode of transportation from the gates of the hotel up to the hotel itself, which was a horse-drawn carriage that at night is converted to electric, and there's no horses. But in the day, there's horses.
Exactly.
And I was like, look at us. We're in a 1906 buggy right now that's electric.
I know.
Oh, my God. It's so fantastic.
It is. And I made this observation to you in the car because we drove through really intense poverty already.
Yep.
We've already seen it.
Yep.
And we're at this opulent hotel that's here to draw, obviously, outsiders.
Well, let's acknowledge the area we're in is the Silicon Valley of India.
Hyderabad.
Right? So it's like this, they have an infrastructure to support the wealth that's been generated out of all this.
There's like abject poverty and then opulence, and my mom always says that about India. Like, it's
that's a pretty
such
stark
a disparity, and it is interesting because America normally, or like historically, doesn't have this, but we're becoming
increasingly.
It's getting, and especially in LA where we can see it more and more. And I don't know, it's like an interesting juxtaposition. To see it happening in a place where people leave to escape it.
Here's a tricky question. I kind of wanted to ask you in the car, but I was nervous to, but now we're being recorded, so. What I hope is clear to you is I don't have pity for anyone. Like, I don't look at that and have pity. I look at that and go like, that's another way to live on planet Earth. It's just different from mine. I don't know the experience. I don't know if they feel less than or they feel poor or anything. My assumption is I don't know one way or another, and I really doesn't even lean towards that I think they're bummed. Like, I don't have pity in my heart for anyone here. Unless they told me I'm suffering and I hate this.
Yeah.
I almost think that's like the naive realism concept in, I hate to say it, anthro, which is like, Westerners will be like, well, of course these people in Africa want a microwave and a refrigerator. And there's just this assumption that people would want what we have. And I don't have that assumption.
Right.
If they tell me that, then I'll believe them.
Totally.
But I'm not looking around thinking like, oh man, I can say I don't want to live in that house, but I don't presume that they don't, or that I feel bad for them. I don't feel bad.
It's layered, though. It's layered. Because I agree with you. There's a piece of white saviors that come in and it's like, here's a microwave. I know you want this.
Oh, it's so depressing.
Right.
The way people. I'm like, everyone we pass riding motorcycles 2 up. Everyone's riding 2 on a motorcycle, which I love. No one has helmets. Guys are texting. Everyone was happy. Everyone was like smiling on their motorcycles.
But there's realities to poverty. They don't lead to long lifespans, and education is limited. There's all these parts that it's just objectively true are limiting to people who are extremely poor.
Right.
I mean, there's no, especially in a country like this.
This is going to sound like a cop-out, but I'm being sincere. So maybe maybe you don't go to school, maybe you don't get educated, but I would need the pie chart of like depression, anxiety, and suicide rate among young kids in America where they're having all the shit and right here where they don't have the shit. I'm not sure that I know which way that goes. I don't know.
Well,
but my hunch is the suffering with all the bullshit we have might be as high or higher.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I don't know that it really equals the thing where we've convinced ourselves it equals. So yeah, maybe they don't go to school. Maybe they don't have as many opportunities. I don't know, but maybe they have like 3 friends like Aaron Weekly and they're having a blast. I just don't know. I'm not willing to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna be on a lot. We're gonna see a lot.
Learn actually.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we happen to be with the person who literally has studied this the most and maybe would know, like, well, no, here's what they care about. They do want clean water. They do want good sanitation.
They don't want to die of diarrhea.
Yeah. And beyond that, maybe he doesn't even have a desire for anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think his goal is to make it Western.
Right.
I think it's to
prevent early mortality.
Yeah. And I think provide opportunities within the country, not to then come to America. It's just like have education here and build, which it has changed like a lot. There's a lot of people who would have, like in my dad's generation, left to come to America who like, you know, get educated and leave and now they stay.
Right.
Anyway.
The weather's awesome.
Yes.
I love it. Like the Indus Valley, like civilization 3,000 years BC. Like
I know.
people have been in cities for 5,000 years here.
Yeah, like
our country's 400 years old.
So
versus 5,000 years. I just feel like I can feel it.
Yeah, we're like new, and I include myself in this. I am American, but like we're new and young and like arrogant.
Sure.
and these countries are so, even like Europe to us normal, like that we're always like, oh, Europe's so old, and it is. But then you're here, and we're in this palace that's like, I don't know how old.
This palace is 13,000 years old.
Wow.
It's before Hammurabi.
Wowie wow. Okay, should I do some Goldie facts?
Sure. Good morning.
Oh, there's some whiteys coming in.
There's some whiteys, is that what we said?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Boy, they look like colonists, don't they? The
honest
hat.
to God, they literally do.
They've been dressed.
They literally do.
I mean, he looks like a cartoon character.
Okay, so she talks about, well, and this is a ding 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 because we're having tea right now.
Yes.
I'm gonna have so much tea here.
Yeah, you've already had 6 or 7 cups. I've had 2 French presses.
Yeah. She had chamomile tea during our recording, and she said there are a lot of health benefits. So
here we go.
7 of them are: may help you sleep better. May improve cancer-related health complications.
Okay.
May promote digestive health. May reduce diabetes-related health complications. May promote heart health. May improve symptoms of depression. May ease menstrual symptoms.
This is a big umbrella of benefits.
I know. That's from eatingwell.com.
Almost every chronic condition we have.
Why don't I look at medical news today? That feels a little
more.
Okay, menstrual symptoms is on this one. Okay, diabetes and blood sugar, it can lower. Osteoporosis, inflammation, cancer. It says some studies suggest that chamomile tea may target cancer cells or even prevent those cells from developing in the first place.
Huh. Sounds like a big claim, but
yeah, but it's on both of the lists.
Okay.
Sleep and relaxation, that one we know. Cold symptoms, mild skin conditions. All right, that's that.
Drink your chamomile tea.
Drink it up. Okay, so she was talking about jumping in what she thought maybe was the North Sea.
Oh, right.
And...
yeah, what are the fjords off of?
Yeah.
The North Sea?
The North Sea...
Again, it's in that Frozen song. Where's the North Sea?
The North Sea lies between Great Britain, Denmark, Norway, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France.
So I think it's off the Baltic Sea.
Oh, okay.
And the Gulf of Bothnia is the big body of water between Sweden and Finland.
Okay, that
so I bet she was jumping into the Gulf of...
That makes sense.
You know what I did? I just went to my Google Maps and I zoomed out. But the Baltic Sea dumps into the North Sea, so who knows where... If she was in Norway, it would have been the North Sea. And then the North Sea becomes the Norwegian Sea.
Okay, she talked about the Greek mythology around spring and summer.
Yeah.
Is about Persephone and...
Being jealous of her daughter.
Right. So...
I'm glad she flared up and got so pissed. And action. I'm going to keep it a little closer to sight.
Okay,
I had
good.
put it on the ground and we had a little interruption. Our unit died.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're back at it. Round two.
Round two.
But most of it
Persephone.
stayed. We just missed me explaining the spring and summer, which I'll do now.
Okay, great.
This is from Hellenic.org, Hellenic Studies, Liberal Arts Education. The first day of spring, also known as the equinox, is a time of growth and rebirth. In ancient Greece, mythologies were developed to explain why things in the world occurred. The myth of the abduction of Persephone by Hades explained the seasons. To the ancient Greeks, spring and summer signified the 6 months when Persephone returned from the underworld and her mother made the earth bloom and grow bountiful after her absence. When Persephone left the company of the gods and returned to the underworld, her mother's loss was expressed in the bareness of autumn and winter. So there's more, but it's essentially...
She was very upset and mourning.
She was mourning her daughter's abduction.
Yes.
And then she went to Zeus, and Zeus said, no, Hades is actually...
He's a catch,
Yeah.
is what
and
basically.
she was like, fuck that. And
You
so
have Stockholm Syndrome. He's a bad boy.
His bad boy.
A baddie.
So then she walked as a mortal and
Can we say
made
someone
the earth
sweeping with the
barren.
kind of broom that, like,
Yeah,
with
an old, like a...
real palm fronds?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
That's a made broom.
Yes.
Not a manufactured.
No. This is a one-off.
But it's
this is
working
bespoke.
great.
It's working better than when I use a
Yeah,
broom.
the one I use from Anthropology, it doesn't work that well.
Ding, ding, ding. Anthropology.
Oh my God. Ding, ding, ding. It really took me a second.
It's shocking I don't shop there more.
I know. Well, they don't really have men.
Oh.
But
But
they
I
have
should be
home goods.
cruising around there.
You should pop
Yeah.
yourself in there. So that was that on that. And then we were talking about Roy. You got a bug.
I just got a malaria mosquito. I killed it
my-
before it could give us malaria.
Oh, thank God. It might be because some of your skin's showing. We should maybe put
Oh,
some
and I
on
didn't
your...
put any on my
Yeah, we should
legs
put
because I
some-
thought my long pants would cover it. But then I'm sitting with
They're exposed.
very effeminately. And
The last
do
thing
you think
was Roy
there's men
the
who
dog.
want to sit cross their legs like this, but they think it's not masculine enough, and then they have
yeah.
to go like this, put
Yes,
their
I
knee
think
on their
that's very common.
ankle? I'm glad I'm not.
Hung up on that?
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's so much more comfortable the way the
Yeah,
ladies do it.
this is hurting your knees if you put your...
It's not ergonomic.
No. If you put your ankle on your knee, how some men do it,
Yeah.
it's not comfy. Although I did used to notice that Matt Damon would sit like that a lot.
Well, he's very masculine.
He is. Boston.
Maybe as he's gotten older, he maybe crosses it more.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because that hurts his knees. Okay, Roy the dog, very cute dog. We watched the commercial. Everyone should watch that commercial again because it's very cute.
Very cute. What a natural.
Yeah.
Not shocking.
Oh.
Where does it end? They'll have
really
a
don't know.
bird.
I don't
I guess
know.
grandkids. They'll all have all these grandkids.
I know,
That'll
I
probably be
wonder.
busting onto the scene here in a second.
I wonder.
Yeah.
We'll see. TBD. So that's pretty much it. I mean, we're going to be following our time here.
Yes. Updating
Stay
from India.
tuned.
I gotta say, we gotta acknowledge it. This is the moment we had when we were about to fly out. Is we were standing in line at the airport,
Yeah.
and I said,
Oh.
"Look at this bizarre turn of events." If I told you 8 years ago, like, we're gonna be Bill Gates' guests in India, it's inconceivable.
It's really
inconceivable.
is. I agree.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
it's incredible.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Oh my God, the places this thing has taken. us.
Oh, so special.
And really
so
only because
lucky.
Armchair is listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening,
Yeah,
guys.
sincerely.
We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
And yeah, stay tuned. We'll be back.
We will be back with more updates.
Love
live
you.
from India.
Bye.